Good morning, Unleashed Lund loyalists. Thanks for tuning in live each weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Remember, please like and subscribe and listen where you get your podcasts. Be on the lookout for Lund loyalists perks by joining the club. And if you really want your comments read during the show, you can use supers and stickers. Now, as close to on time as he gets, here's Johnny.
There it is. There is your show cover of the day, NBA Trade Madness. And today is deadline day. Today. So I will be having to look away from the camera much to see if anything else is going on. And maybe the Warriors aren't done. But there you see Jimmy Butler in his Warriors garb. There's Luka we know, Anthony Davis we know, Kyle Kuzma, Zach LaVine. Oh, look at Wiggs in Miami, hot pink. And, of course, De'Aaron Fox. And maybe we're not done. We may not be done today. Had to go, that looks bad. Pull that down a little bit. There we go. That certainly is a look. Thanks for joining us. Thursday edition of the show. We got a ton going on today, as you can see there. Look at that craziness. Oh, my goodness. Let me fix that. Get that out of your screen there. Good morning. I hope you are doing tremendously. We did do a show late yesterday, and we did a ton on Jimmy Butler and had a great time with it, but we got a ton to do too, and we're going to continue to do that and talk about Jimmy Butler and get into all this stuff with Jimmy. Let me just fix that up. With Jimmy and everything else today. Thank you for making a time for us today. John Lund Unleashed. We always appreciate you hanging out with us, and it's a Thursday edition of the show, and we do have a ton of stuff, and as you can see on the board there, I kind of took out the Super Bowl stuff, although I will get to Super Bowl stuff. It's just I got a lot of Butler things on the chalkboard today because we got to go deep on this whole thing and where the Warriors are in the West. And I got some Steve Kerr for you. It's video/audio of Steph and Curry. Got a lot of stuff on the board today. The Heat fan who broke the news to the bench, which was pretty funny if you did not see that. And we will check in with George from the Super Bowl. Did a nice job of the walk and talk yesterday, and he went out on Bourbon Street. I haven't gotten any more details on that. Oh, I'm not going to be able to text him. Broke my phone. I hope I can text with him on my iPad. I forgot about that. Look at that. That's my screen right now. It's very nice. So I got to go to the phone store today. Look at the back of that sucker. Yeah, I broke that thing. So, yeah, that's usually what I do. I text back and forth and go, you ready to go? You ready to go? You ready to go? I think I can text with him on my iPad here. Let me check and make sure that I can, because if not, I don't know, man. I'm going to call my wife and have her run interference or something. Oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah, I got text. Moving hotels, not enough for a bit. I'll let you know when I'm in the building. Okay. All right. I don't know why they have to. And Lorenzo Neal, just dotting I's and crossing T's, hoping to get something with him today because of the story that we always tell from New Orleans. So we'll do all those things. Episode 54 on the chalkboard. Before we do roll call today, Durant says no. That's interesting. He's a weird dude. Butler says yes, but only after the extension that I told you about weeks ago that he was going to have to sign if he was going to get traded, no matter what the leverage of the situation was. Let's give credit where credit is due with Wiggs. Kind of a weird tenure as Warriors, but as we continue down this road, again, all this was brought on because Kevin Durant left and allowed the Warriors to kind of fill in the space of that money. So they got D'Angelo Russell, which turned into Wiggins and Kuminga, and now Wiggins is gone, which turned into Butler. So Durant for Butler, and Durant ironically didn't want to come here, so they had to shift to Butler. So it all comes around. Where are the Warriors in the West? A $121 million extension. Kerr and Curry react to all of this thing. Trade season, which is what the cover is. And will there be more today on the actual day of the NBA trade deadline? We'll do that. And Vucevic, somebody suggested this to me last night, that the Bulls, I don't know what the hell the Bulls are doing. They're just in perpetual rebuild since the Jordan days. But that they might not be done dealing. Windy this morning reports on Get Up, which I did not get up to see Get Up. I normally grab some bites from there, so I'll take the word for it. Expiring contracts, and could be looking to look for a big man who can shoot like Vucevic can for the Bulls, and his name's been talked about a lot for the Warriors. And my whole thought on that, and then we'll expand on it because I want to do roll call and start the show a little bit, do a little appetizers here. Is that, if you're going to go for it, just go for it. I mean, if you're Joe Lacob, you already did the Butler move, just go ahead, just the assets. And I guess the only thing I always struggle with is I don't understand, as you and I often talk about, let's look at the other side. What does the other GM get out of this whole thing? Vucevic is a nice player, and maybe they want to just cut more money. It seems like the Bulls are always cutting money and hoping to get cap space and sign players, and he doesn't understand, or they don't understand, that if you're crummy, teams really don't want to sign with you. So you got to get a couple of young players. You got to be going in the right direction, and then you can use your cap space for players who are actually good players who are going to contribute. But they are in perpetual rebuild. And so what you hear with Vucevic this morning is that, he's over $20 million, so you're going to match the salaries, as we often talk about. And what could potentially happen there is like a GP2 and a Looney, which combine close to $20 million. It could, mess around and then throw in a couple of second-round picks, and you're getting Vucevic. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. But dumb teams like the Bulls do that. So that would be nice, because the Lakers got Mark Williams from Charlotte yesterday. He's a nice center out of Duke. I'm not saying he's an upper echelon guy, but he's a tough guy, rebounder, can score a little bit. It's averaging 16 a game. But again, he's on a bad team. So if he goes to the Lakers, maybe he's averaging 10 or 11. But, you get a center that's averaging 10 or 11 with the Lakers and getting double-digit boards and playing tough defense and giving you something rugged, which is something they didn't have. So whether you hate the Lakers, whatever the case may be, those are a couple of nice moves. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors made another move, not because of the Lakers, just because Butler's nice, and we'll debate. And some people definitely don't like it based on the emergency show that we did last night. But certainly, I think they could use another player. So we're going to discuss a ton of that, as you can see on the chalkboard. But good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Thursday, rain in the Barry once again. I don't know if that's why I'm going to be honest with you. I chucked my phone. It didn't really break. I mean, it did break after I threw it. Sports Girl for Life is here. Hurley Bird, good to see you, my friend. Jazz fan. The Jazz beat the Warriors last night, by the way. That's not the lead, but my God. And it was my fault. If you're here last night, I'll explain. John Holmes, that's a great way to say good morning to everyone. Good morning, you savages. We are a bunch of savages this morning. Good morning, Joy. Joy does bring joy. It's great to see her this morning. Enrique, very nice to see you, my friend. I would be interested in, I'm not a runner. I do need help with mental health, as you can tell every single day. I put it out on the line here, and people are like, are you incredibly? Yeah, see, Steve was here last night, and he knows. So I guess I got to tell the story. Last night, we were doing the emergency Jimmy Butler show, had a great time, lots of energy, lots of fun, lots of new people in the room, and we're hanging out. And I looked over, because I got a TV in front of me, I got a TV behind me, I got the iPad in front of me, I got a laptop, and I got a desktop, and I got 1,000 things going on. And so, we're talking. I glance over to the game, and I think the Warriors are up 8 with a couple minutes left. Utah's not very good, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know there's no Kuminga, and I know there's no Wiggins because of the trade, and there's a number of different guys that are not on the team, and so you're a shorthanded roster. But you're in Utah, and you're up 8 with like a buck and a half, 2 minutes left in the game. And so I was stupid, and I went, I called it. I go, okay, they're going to get this win. That's a nice win, given that they're shorthanded. And then all of a sudden, and they lose. And the fact that I called it with a couple of minutes left and said it was a win is my fault. And Steve calls me on it because Steve was here last night. And I did this last night, I take full responsibility. That was stupid. I'm more of a veteran than that. I know you can't do that. And I did it. It's a cardinal sin. And so that's what I did. There's John Holmes on Miles Turner. We can talk about Miles Turner today. A long time for the Warriors fans saying, Miles Turner. Let me see something really quick as I'm talking. I look at the West so much that I forget to look at the East in the NBA standings. So again, Miles Turner would be great and all. I don't know what you have to give up. You certainly aren't giving up Looney, Peyton, and a couple of twos to get Miles Turner, so that's not happening. Vucevic, for some reason, they're saying that. The Bulls are 22-30. So it's funny. You look over the East, they're 22-30. They're a playing team. It's so ridiculous. But and Indiana's not moving Miles Turner. They're 28-21, fourth place in the West. They're one of those teams that they're not as bad as what the Warriors are, but they're perpetually in the middle. You look at the East. The Cavs, Celtics, and Knicks are clearly the best teams there. The Bucks could make a little bit of a run. The Kuzma thing, I don't know how big of a deal that is, but certainly the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference are it as far as I think contending in that conference. And Cleveland at 41-10, my God, but I'm just, you're looking at the Celtics who have won a championship, so I think still the Celtics are the team to beat. The Cavaliers are really good, but I do think that the Cavaliers are very, very young, and we'll see what they do in the playoffs. They haven't proven anything, but Indiana's 28-21, so I don't think they're going to move Turner unless you were going to blow them away with a deal, and you really don't have the assets after the Jimmy Butler deal trade to do that. So that's what I would say on that. So that's why maybe they're looking at Vucevic. But anyway, Scott, good to see you. Another snow day in Seattle. I lived in a place, you probably know this if you're in Seattle. I lived in a place called Edmonds, which is near Everett, and I'm sure that you know that area. We hardly ever got snow, ever. And then I lived up in Portland for a while, never got snow. Hi, Jeff. Good morning to you. Who else do we have today? Tacky. It's great to have Tacky in there as well. Throw your phone at the wall in a rage. You know what it more was? Is cranky and rainy, and I hate this weather, and I don't like to say hate. And then I was having technical difficulties with all these things that I have in front of me, with an iPad, a computer, a laptop, a phone, all these different things, and I have everything aligned every day, and I get in here early enough, and then all of a sudden technical issues start happening, or something freezes up, or something, and it's like 8:15, the show starts, and it's like, man. And so I'd had it. So, yeah, I got to go over to the phone store. But you know what? To be honest with you, my phone was on the fritz. It really was. And it's not that I want some AI phone. I'm not one of those people, as I hold up the broken phone, I'm not one of those people who need to have the latest in technology. Like, I don't need to get my phone on the first day. I'm not waiting in some stinking line. Whatever. If I have, I don't even know what my phone is, 12, 14, 10, who knows? So that's not a big deal to me, but yeah, that was probably not a smart thing. And then you got to go through the insurance thing, and you got to talk to people who are going to try to upsell me. Hi, welcome to, who is my phone carrier? Hi, welcome to Verizon. We'll replace that phone in 2 seconds. No problem. Have you ever thought about the blah, 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 blah plan? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, can I just have a phone, please, please, please? So we'll see. That'll be fun. Just one of those things, It's not as bad as like going to the car dealership or the dentist or anything like that. But I mean, if we ranked like places you don't want to go and that annoy you, even though I'm generally a very happy person, I'd say the phone store is up there. And I don't want to order it. I could just order it, I guess, online. Maybe I'll try that first, because I don't really feel like interacting with people. I did trash this phone. My goodness gracious. All right. Good morning, Daniel. Good to see you. Lost Crew. Good to see you, my friend. How long? Yeah, you're bringing up the question of the day, my friend. How long before Dre and Butler go to blows? What was the somebody put out? I didn't put it in the system to play today, but I guess I could in just a second. But did you see all the people putting out the memes with Bob Barker and Happy Gilmore? And they're like, oh, first day Butler and Draymond go at it. And, that can't be minimized. I mean, these are two alphas, and they're going to go at it. And that's the greatness of Steph. Steph is like, man, let's just let it happen. Whoever is going to lead is going to lead. I'll lead on the court, and then you guys can fight over, who the ultimate alpha is on this team. So that will be that'd be interesting. So anyway, Scott, Livermore. Yeah, you're just right down the street from me. Very, very cool. Good morning. There you go. My wife has checked in. If you could start the process of, if possibly, get me a phone, that'd be nice. You're probably gonna have to. She's gonna be really mad at me today, because she's gonna have to be the liaison with my son. I also got hacked this morning on my bank account. It's just been a great day. So I had to cancel a card this morning at like 5 a.m, and now I'm gonna have to go to the phone place. Oh man, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right. Yeah, I know. No, I didn't. It wasn't that at all. No. I didn't throw my phone so I could get the latest and greatest. Like I said, I would do a phone. I would do a flip phone. Like, I really don't care. I mean, I like having the technology of it and all that kind of thing. But like, some people are like, oh, I got to get the latest camera. It's like, I don't know what camera I have. I just know that I have pretty much, I mean, I have one of the most trashed phones ever. And one of the reasons I do, and then let's get on to stuff, shall we? One of the reasons I do is that in my car, there's no plugs or anything like that. And so what you have to do is you have to put your phone on a double charger that's sitting there. And I haven't found, maybe you could help me with this. You should do this on the radio all the time. I'd say something and then people go, oh, I can solve that for you. So what I did is I had to stick this thing directly. Let me get this on there. I had to stick it directly on a thing, and I could not find a cover or a case that was thin enough that I could sit it on there and it would still charge through it. So then I took my case off, and then the thing really started to get trashed. As you can see, this is not from just the throwing today. That was the final straw, but it was getting trashed because I couldn't put a cover on it. And if I did put a cover on it to take it on and off every time I got in my car, it was like, oh. So I just didn't have a cover on it. And then it started getting trashed. All right. What else we have? Yeah, I heard that, by the way. Thank you. Let's see. Let me see here. Somebody said something about George being on with Kruger yesterday, and I heard that same thing. Hey, Gabriel, good to see you. George was great with Kruger and Bruce yesterday. The future is in good hands. Oh, I didn't know he was on with both those guys. Yeah, Krug texted me and said, "Hey, give me George's number. I want to have him on. I saw him on your show a couple times. He was really good." And I go, "Yeah, no problem." And so I asked him about it, and Krug texted me and actually said, "Yeah, it was great. He was really good." So I was pretty stoked about that. I'm telling you, as what was it, Sergio Dip? He's having the time of his life. He's having the time of his life in New Orleans. So anyway, yeah, it's a Tesla, and it's like there's no plugs in the damn thing. Like I love the car, but yeah, there's no plugs. And so it's like I got to set this thing. Does anybody know of a case that really thin, that so you could like charge through it? Does anybody know about that? I don't know if he was drinking bourbon. We're already on to the. I didn't even write random on there, but I've never had an Android. I'm not against it. I have everything I have is Apple related, like the sheep that I am. And so I've got I got an iPad. I got the Apple laptop. I got the whatever desktop. So they're all connected. So they got you. They're like ha ha ha. And so that's what I have. Is I have all this stuff, and I'm like, well, they all connect, and I really like that. It's probably why I get hacked all the time. My God. All right, let's get to it. Enough about me. My God, let's not. Can we not? Let's not. Everybody's got problems. It's like, dude, I don't want to hear them. All right, good. Yeah, they sucked me in for life. Exactly. Modesto Tesla. Yeah. Hey, man, they booted me to the curb when I left. They're like, yeah, it's been great, man. See you later. They're great people, though. I got to tell you, man, I had a car from Modesto for, gosh, I don't even know what, like 8 years, where I didn't have a car payment. Just like, and they give you a new one every single year. It was like, I was in heaven with that stuff. It was like, oh my gosh, you kidding me? I'd go out there, they'd give me a car, I'd sign something, no money. I'm out of there. I'm like, and then you keep for a year, and then you get it dirty enough and you try to clean it a little bit. Then they give you another one. You're like, oh my God, this is incredible. I got to do this my whole rest of my life. And then, for some reason, when you get fired, they're like, yeah, we can't give you a free car anymore. Sorry, you're not helping us. All right, there we go. Let's get to it. NBA trade madness. If anything happens, you know what to do, because I'm sitting here yip-yapping trying to entertain people. So if you would please let me know if anything is happening, because I will monitor all this stuff and see if there's anything going on as far as NBA trades are concerned. And if I miss something, and you know how I get onto weird stuff. If I miss anything, any trades, then you let me know, and we'll continue to talk about those trades. But the big one you want to talk about is Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler goes to the Warriors. And my question to you is very simple. Do you like the move? Do you like it? Where are the Warriors in the West? What do you think? So let's go through something. Yesterday, we were all together yesterday, and I'm going to try to get these in correct order. Let's see here. So here we go. Yesterday at this exact time, you and I were going, ooh, there could be a reunion. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, that's what's being reported. Windhorse is saying it. ESPN is saying it. Everybody's talking about it. And then Kevin Durant was like, has anybody asked me if I want to go back to the Warriors? And then Anthony Slater reports the Golden State ownership group and front office collectively, quote unquote, underestimated Durant's coldness towards a return, as one team source put it. Look, I've interviewed Durant a handful of times. I'm not going to say that I know Kevin Durant, but his disdain to come back to the Warriors mystifies me. And the only way I can, this is a complete guess on my part. Sometimes I bring things to the table because I've talked to somebody, texted with somebody, know something, whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, I know nothing in terms of the Durant thing, but this just makes logical sense to me, is that he goes from OKC, can't win a title, he's frustrated, signs with the Warriors, wins 2 titles, 2 MVPs in the NBA Finals, would have won a third had they beaten Toronto and he not blown out his Achilles in Game 5. They would have won that series. So he'd have been 3 for 3, and then he could have rode out of town, and it would have been incredible. But in his eyes, and I understand it, he doesn't believe that he got the credit he deserves for how good he was with the Warriors. And he realized that no matter what he did, in the eyes of the fans, in the eyes of the media, in the national perception, it was never going to be seen as Durant did this, or Durant's team, or anything like it would have been had he stayed with Oklahoma City. And that's part of the problem with moving all over the place. Anymore, it's not like you're going to stay with one team forever. It looks like maybe Steph will now, and we're going to get into that whole conversation. But as far as Durant is concerned, the irony of what Durant always says is, I just want to hoop, I just want to ball, I just want it to be about basketball. And yet he creates all this drama and he's thin skinned and he goes after people with like 7 followers on social media. And he's about everything but basketball sometimes in his life. The drama that he creates, but yet blames everybody else for, is crazy. And so I think the reason he didn't want to come back to the Warriors is that what that would do is, for the outside world, which you just got to stop worrying about. And when you get to a certain age, you do. But Durant is worried about the perception that would be, oh, that I need the Warriors to win a championship, that I need to go back to the Warriors, that I need to go back to Steph, that I need to go back to Draymond. And the other thing I think about Durant is he played nice with Draymond Green, and they went on podcasts together and everything like that, and they squashed their beef. And I just don't necessarily know that Kevin Durant squashed the beef, and that even though they're being nice guys, Kevin Durant's a superstar, and Draymond Green spoke to him like a child. Was that in LA against the Clippers? He spoke to him like a child. And to be honest with you, that's one of my pet peeves. I hate being spoken to like a child, even though I act like a child perpetually. But I do, it's like when somebody says to me, or in a certain tone of voice and in a certain way, my mom will do that on occasion, where she'd be like, now remember, and I'll use, and I know she hates this term right back at her. I go, I'm an adult. I know. Like, I'm an adult. I get it. So I think that's kind of, Durant has a bit of that in him, in that he's just so worried about the outside world and what everybody thinks, when the reality should be he should have stayed with the Warriors. I mean, that's been proven. He doesn't have to come back here for that to be proven. I don't think Durant's going to win a championship in Phoenix. And we'll get into how all this went down from the way that I heard it in just a few minutes. But I'm just concentrating on Durant before we move on to Butler, because that's the guy they wanted. They wanted Kevin Durant. They thought they could get Kevin Durant. I think Phoenix was willing to play ball, and they would have tore the team up. I mean, this would have been a deal where Kuminga's going the other way. Matt Ishbia is the owner of the Suns, and he just bought him, and he's not going to buy him so that he can put him into the tank. And they had a terrible owner in Robert Sarver before, and everybody in Phoenix hated him. So he wasn't going to go down that road in getting rid of Kevin Durant, who he hyped up when he first got the team and traded for, unless he was going to be able to sell to his fan base that, look what I got in return. I crushed the Warriors on this deal, and I got Andrew Wiggins, and I got Jonathan Kuminga, and I got Brandon Pajemski, and I got all these guys I'm going to build around, because the Warriors would have been desperate to get Durant, because Joe Lacob and the organization knew, like, we get Durant back, we're back in it. We get Durant back, we're back on national TV all the time next year. We got a 2 or 3 year run, and I can say that I ran this thing into the ground, but I got Kevin Durant back. And they, without asking Durant, all these things started to come out. And then finally somebody got to Durant and said, what do you think? And he goes, I ain't going back there. I'm not going in reverse. I'm not going to be Steph's team. I'm not going to be treated like that again. I'm not, all these things of why. Remember the weirdness around when he left? And we're all sitting there going, dude, you're going to Brooklyn, the team with Kyrie, and then later James Harden. Like, who wants to team with those guys? He did do one nice thing for the Warriors, and this is the irony of this whole thing and how this goes in a circle, and you know how the NBA works. So Kevin Durant leaves, and the Warriors are like, we got to be able to get something in return. And remember, D'Angelo Russell was in Brooklyn at the time. And so even though we knew that D'Angelo Russell was never going to fit this organization on or off the court, and it was kind of disastrous when he was here, he was a placeholder for that financial money that gets sucked up because you're so far over the cap and over the number and over the penalty. So if Durant doesn't play ball with the Warriors, they don't get Andrew Wiggins. They don't get Jonathan Kuminga in that Minnesota trade, in which Minnesota, for some reason, helped the Warriors again. Like, if I was the Warriors, if I'm Minnesota, I think the area code in Minnesota off the top of my head is 612. We can double check that. Something like that. But I mean, I would just block anything from the 415. Like, anything coming in from 415, I don't care if it's a lottery winner. I don't care if it's, somebody saying, you've won billions of dollars. All you got to do is pick up the phone. And I'd be like, nope, not doing it. I'm not taking a 415. They ripped us off for Curry. That was their own fault. They took 2 point guards right before Steph Curry. And then they make this move where the Timberwolves get D'Angelo Russell. And not only do the Warriors get Andrew Wiggins, but they get the 7th overall pick, in which they take Kuminga, which jury's still out. But still, that's a hell of a trade. And then they take Wiggins and they move him for Jimmy Butler. So in a long kind of a way, Durant said no to the Warriors, but Durant was the reason why they end up getting Jimmy Butler, if you stay with me on that whole line. So crazy. So anyway, that was the Kevin Durant thing. I think Durant's weird. I wouldn't care. I mean, I think you're probably at the point of your life where I am. And if you're not, I'll just give you a tiny piece of advice, and you can take it or you can throw it away and say I'm an idiot, which generally I am. But stop caring what people think. It just doesn't ever do you any good. Who cares? Do you. And that's I ever since I've developed that philosophy of just I don't, you and I talk about funny stuff all the time in terms of what you eat, what you do, whatever, just do you. And we'll all be happier if we just do you and not worry about like what that person thinks or that person thinks or this person thinks. And I think Kevin Durant is so thin-skinned in that way. You're such a talented basketball player. You're so good. Who friggin' cares? Like, come back to the Warriors. You should have never left the Warriors. But I think he feels like that's going to be an admission of guilt on my part that I never should have left, that I shouldn't have went to Brooklyn, that I shouldn't have went to Phoenix, that I can't win anywhere, and that I can't win without Steph, and I can't win without the Warriors. Like, that's what's in his head. And none of that stuff matters. KD, if you came here and won a championship with Steph Curry and this group again, you're just getting another ring. It's nobody, and who cares what Screaming A and all these dumb morning talk shows and me and anybody else says about Kevin Durant. It's not real. Is Kevin Durant's championship? Are Kevin Durant's championships real? Could Kevin Durant ever win a championship without the Warriors? Dun, dun, dun. Like, who cares? That's all short-term talk for talking head shows. And when you're in the Hall of Fame and named one of the best players and maybe the best scoring, I was going to say big, but he might be the best scorer, just individual scorer. And I don't care what the numbers say, LeBron and Jordan and Kareem and Malone and all these different guys who are at the top of that list. I'm just saying, like, if you had to pick a guy one-on-one to score you a bucket with the game on the line, I mean, Jordan would certainly be up there, but here's a 7-foot guy that is impossible to guard. He can put it on the floor. He can get to the rim. He can shoot. He can pull up. He's got a mid-range game. Like, what does Kevin Durant not have? I mean, I'm not saying he's the strongest and bulkiest. He's not going to be able to bowl to the basket like a Karl Malone or somebody like that or a Shaq, but he doesn't have to. He's just got so much to his game, and everybody respects Kevin Durant, but yet he just has this thing in his head, like, and you could tell, I mean, you could tell just based on what I just said there and what you just saw, I'll pop it up there one more time, is like, he just had a disdain. Like, I'm not going back to the Warriors. What are you, insane? I'm not taking a step back. I'm Kevin Durant. I'm going to win it here. And it's like, all right, that's fine. He would rather lose his way than win the Warriors' way. Because as I'm looking at the Suns right now, and this is the reason why they have Jimmy Butler. So let's kind of transition into Jimmy Butler. And I want to get your thoughts on Durant, because we had him here and we kind of know, like, that the guy's just kind of a little bit weird for as talented as he is. He's just too worried about what people think. Steph Curry doesn't care what people think. Look how happy he is. You can just tell on his face. He doesn't care. He'll take a 50-footer. He'll do this. He'll do that. He lives his life in a certain way. He's public about the way that he lives his life. I mean, it's just, he's having a fun life. And you can just tell not a lot, at least publicly, burdens him because he doesn't care what people think. You look at happy people and a lot of times they just don't care what people think. So I think that's huge. But let's transition this thing to Jimmy Butler. So this thing, let me finish this real quick. So this went from reunion yesterday to they get a no, another hard no. So that was right after the show. We did that. And I actually wrote an entire piece on it and was ready to do a video right when the trade went down. So if you want to see the another hard no piece that I wrote, you can go to johnlundunleashed.com on that one. But that video never made it to light of day because literally right when I was about ready to hit the button, then the Jimmy Butler trade happened. So then we went from that to that to that. And we did an emergency show last night. Butler to the Warriors. Wiggins was the main piece going the other way, and that's the big three for the Warriors. I'm going to tell you how this went down in just a second. But again, on the comment line, or if you're at John Lund Radio on X or Instagram, I'd love to get your thoughts on the Warriors getting Jimmy Butler and how much better this makes them. And look, Andrew Wiggins was having a great year, so we're going to discuss that part of it as well. So that's what it did. We went from bang to boom to that in like what period of time? It was just crazy. All those things went boom, boom, boom. And then Kevin Durant said, are you insane? Underestimated Durant's coldness towards a return. So it's not like Kevin Durant was like, yeah, maybe. Kevin Durant was like, no, like, I'm not doing that. I am not getting a reunion. I don't want it to be about those guys. I don't want to be Robin to Batman, or I don't want to be Robin to Curry's Batman. He just doesn't have any interest in that. So it's really interesting. So anyway, that's the no Durant part. We're going to get into the Jimmy part, but here's essentially what happened. So you're asking yourself, because you and I talked about this a lot. Jimmy Butler, I don't know, 48 hours ago comes out, and again, we got to know how agents work. We got to know how the Heat are working. We got to know what is supposed to be leaked and not, because this stuff isn't supposed to get to us unless, as fans and as general public, unless there is some agenda that is being played. Well, it gets out that Jimmy Butler says no to the Warriors. Absolutely not. And the leverage game he's playing there is, and it's painfully obvious. Okay, so it came down to the Suns and the Warriors. The Suns had a deal worked out, an extension worked out. Their aggressive owner was like, yeah, we'll give the extension. They didn't have the deal worked out. So Miami and Phoenix, because Bradley Beal, if you like the Jimmy Butler trade, thank Bradley Beal. Because Bradley Beal is one of two players in the NBA, LeBron James being the other, that has a full no trade clause. So they have to go to Bradley Beal and say, hey, will you go here? No. 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 Me, I would probably go to a lot of these places, especially Miami, because if you're not wanted in a place, that kind of sucks. So you walk into the office and you got the cubicle, right? And it's like, and everybody's looking at you, sneering at you, like, yeah, I don't want you around. So clearly, like, Durant's looking at it going, Beal, man, we got you in 22. We thought you were going to be good. You suck. I don't want you. Booker's going, man, we should have Jimmy Butler. You suck. I don't want you. The fan base is going, you suck. I don't want you. Like, nobody wants him to be there. So, I mean, it's not like I would go to, I don't know, Minnesota or something and freeze my butt off. I'd be like, no, that's why I have a no trade clause. But, Miami, whatever the case, I don't know. I don't know why Bradley Beal didn't want to be traded. But if Bradley Beal had given the thumbs up, then the deal would have went down with Miami. Because we've said this, Jimmy Butler makes $50 million, which when I show you the trade in a second, it's why the Warriors had to offload so many pieces and why so many teams had to be involved, because the Miami Heat were like, we're not taking on 5 players. I mean, we want Andrew Wiggins, but we don't want the other 5 guys who make the salaries match. So we got to find some other teams that are under the number and all those kind of things that will at least take these players for us. So it's a really complicated trade. But what went down was they couldn't get a deal done with the Suns, and they had an extension worked out. And that's why Jimmy was pounding the table to get to Phoenix, because as I told you weeks and weeks and weeks ago, it wasn't about winning a championship about Jimmy. That's a bonus for him. And I'm not saying he won't play hard here, because he will. And I'm not saying he doesn't want a championship, because he does. But what he wanted first at age 35 was money. He wanted an extension, and he wasn't going anywhere. And he was pounding and pouting and being like a child in Miami because they wouldn't give him an extension at 35. And they were steadfast about it. So he acted like a jerk. And he tried to get himself out of town, which he eventually did, but he didn't do it so he could team with Durant to win a title or team with Curry and Draymond and get a title. He did it because who's giving me an extension? I've got the leverage. Players have never had more power than they have right now in all of professional sports. And he just sat there and said, look, I'm not going anywhere until someone gives me an extension, and I'm not going to quit pouting, and I'm not going to quit acting like a child. I'm not going to, that's just it. I'm going to get an extension. So Phoenix had an extension, didn't have a deal. The Warriors didn't have an extension and had a deal. And when it all got out, oh man, how weird is that leaked out? That Jimmy Butler said, nope, not going to the Bay Area. And I looked at it and I said, well, that means the Warriors are done. And yesterday when we were talking about Kevin Durant, and then by mid-afternoon when I started writing this piece, I thought to myself, well, Butler said no. Durant said no. I thought LeBron made a heck of a lot of sense. And I think the Lakers, as strange as it sounds, are going to regret not trading LeBron James when they had the chance, because if you'd have traded with the Warriors with LeBron James, and the number would have been, of course, Wiggins would have had to be in it, but they would have gotten Kuminga in a deal like that, I'm sure, either Moody or Podziemski, some picks. But what that does is that builds everybody around the same age as Luka, and then for the next 10 or 12 years, they've got the right players around Luka and the right aged players, and all of a sudden they have continuity and they're building together, and it would have been scary. Now, LeBron in the short term would have made the Warriors better, but in the long term, the Lakers would have had the right players who fit age-wise around Luka, and they would have made a big run. Now, can they make a run? And they made a nice move for Mark Williams, an underrated center out of Duke that Charlotte had, and he's at 16-10 for Charlotte. He's not going to do that with the Lakers because Charlotte's a bad team. I've talked about this. It's the Dennis Schroeder theory. He was great with Brooklyn. He was playing 34 minutes, but somebody had to score there. Somebody had to dish assists there. And then he comes here and he doesn't fit in. Lots of guys can get numbers on a losing team in the NBA. They're that talented. But you have to win with other players who are really good, and to still get yours and play within the structure of that team is difficult. And Dennis Schroeder could never do that. And I never thought he was a good fit with the Warriors. So I'm not patting myself on the back. It's just he was one of the players that went. He ended up going to Utah, and he's going to get bought out there, and he's going to be with somebody. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. It's just he's a role player. And people after that trade here were like, that's a major trade. That's a big deal. And it's like, not so much. Not so much. So that's what went down. So anyway, then the desperation happens for Joe Lacob. Oh my God. I can't get Kevin Durant. I can't get anybody who's going to make a big difference. Everybody's saying no to us. What are we going to do? And at the 11th hour, Jimmy Butler, I'm sure this happened between, I'm I'm not reporting this. I'm just saying this makes logical sense. Where Jimmy Butler texts Steph Curry and says, "Hey, dude, I hear we got a deal in place. Everything's good. It's just your guy, Joe Lacob. He's got to give me an extension. Like I need the extension, and if he gives me the extension, I'm on my way. That's or you guys can, or you guys cannot do anything." And probably from that point, Steph's representation said, "Look, we love you, Joe, and we don't want to leave the organization. But if we don't make a move here at some point that can really move the needle, Steph is probably in the offseason very nicely going to have to ask you for a trade, and then you're going to have to do all that stuff. And it's not going to happen at the deadline, but then you got to probably blow this thing up. Now we're looking at last dance, and it's cool. We're not mad, and Steph will come back and be an executive and a warrior for life in a couple of years, but he's going to go chase another ring. So either you can get a deal done, or Steph probably in the offseason is going to ask for a trade. And Joe Lacob's like, oh my God, we can't have that. So he said reluctantly to Butler's people, okay, let's work the extension. And Jimmy Butler got the extension. Jimmy Butler's happy. He gets $121 million. Steph is happy. Dre is happy. And we'll see how it works out. Now, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work out to the level and we're going to get to the standings and how they look. And I know they lost in Utah last night. Pods was really good. So that's kind of how it went down. It gets leaked out. I'm not coming. Phoenix gets stonewalled on a move. Beal says no because he's got a full no trade clause. I'm sure Steph kind of rattled the cage and said, well, if we don't make a move, and I've told you numerous times throughout the season that I don't want to be on a mediocre basketball team. Well, we're a mediocre basketball team. And if we go into the offseason, we'll be a mediocre basketball team. And that's not what I want. So we'll probably have to do something in the offseason that we don't either of us want to do. And then Joe Lacob said, I'm going to have to give him the extension. And look, to me, that's a bunch of money. It's $121 million is a ton, but given what Steph has meant to the organization, that Chase Center's not built without Steph. None of the success happens without Steph. The valuation of the franchise is not anywhere near what it is without Steph. That Joe Lacob knew that he owed Steph Curry. And it's fine. I'll throw another $121 million on the pile after all the money he spent. And that's the one thing when this thing gets run into the ground, and it will in a couple of years, and everybody's saying, He did everything he could. Joe Lacob can sleep at night saying, I did everything I could for Steph Curry. They tried to get Durant. Durant didn't want to, wasn't interested in a reunion. They tried at one point last year to get LeBron James. They tried to get just about everybody. And the only guy who would come here was the kookiest guy, and that's Jimmy Butler, and only if they gave him an extension. So that's how this whole thing went down. Now let's get that. Let me go out and see what people are saying first, because then we'll get into the actual trade itself. And you can tell me, and this is the big question of the day today. We don't necessarily have a poll going on today, but if we did, it would just be very simple. Do you like the trade? Yes or no? Do you like the Jimmy Butler trade? Yes or no? And where do you think it puts him in the Western Conference? I guess I gave you two questions. Do you like it, and where does it put him? All right. Let's see. Think the Jimmy deal is closer to 111. Yeah, semantics. I think last night I put on the board 112, and then I read it was 121. Whatever. You get my drift. That's a lot of difference for me and you, but for him, yeah, let's acknowledge this, by the way. Not that I'm going to go random on everybody. Dennis Richmond, man, that is a bad day. That is a bad day, man. Dennis Richmond, thank you for bringing that up. All right, let's see what do we got? Can he behave for 2 years for the Warriors? I hope so, though I doubt Butler in the end is about Butler. I don't disagree. Let's put a pin in that and talk about that in just a second. Yeah, I'm not a Kyrie guy. Papa and I used to get in, not fights. We never got in fights, but we would have a disagreement over Kyrie, because the thing is, and I'm glad you brought that up. So let's go down this road for just a second. I think chemistry matters. I think that chemistry matters in all the sports, but I really think it matters on a basketball court. We have five guys and you got to play in harmony. And I think it matters. I think that trying to put a fantasy team together, which I've covered teams that tried to do that. There was a guy, you probably remember him. His name was Bob Whitsitt. He was a general manager of the Portland Trailblazers in the late 90s and early 2000s. He used to run the Seattle Supersonics when they were really good as well. And when they went to the finals against Jordan and the Bulls, Peyton and Kemp and all those guys and Detlef Schrempf. So his name is Bob Whitsitt. They'd call him Trader Bob. And he was about fantasy basketball, and he didn't care about chemistry. And so one year was the year they lost in 2021 to the Lakers in the NBA Finals, in which they had like a huge lead. Remember, they Kobe to Shaq lob and everything. And this is a great story. So we're down there as Portland media, and they're rolling the champagne in the middle of the fourth quarter, maybe like 6-8 minutes left, into the Blazers locker room, and they're putting the cover up or whatever so that champagne doesn't get all over the lockers and all that kind of stuff. And then the Blazers went, I think, 0 for 13 from the field. I mean, just gimmies too, bunnies, just short little ones they're missing. Rasheed Wallace layups, easy stuff. I don't know that they missed a dunk in there, but some easy shots. And they went 0 for their next 13, and the Lakers just rolled them. And then the Lakers went to the NBA Finals, and the Blazers were never to be heard from again with that group. But I mean, they had Scottie Pippen, Steve Smith, Rod Strickland, Damon Stoudemire, Bonzi Wells, Rasheed Wallace, Arvydas Sabonis, Dale Davis. They traded in the offseason for Dale Davis, Jermaine O'Neal. Like, they had this super roster that you were looking around. Greg Anthony, Stacey Augmon. You were looking around the locker room going, oh my God, it was like having an Olympic team. I mean, they were so freaking talented. It was just a joke. And Bob Whitsitt would just keep bringing guys. And it was like, certain guys had kind of I don't know, they just didn't like competition. So, like, for example, Damon Stoudemire, they brought in Rod Strickland, and he really didn't like that. And anyway, long story short was they had tons and tons of talent. And Bob Whitsitt just said, let's just keep bringing in talent. We don't care about chemistry. Let's just more talent. And they just never vibed. Even though they had all this ridiculous talent, they just never vibed because they didn't have all the guys who would do the dirty work. So it's about chemistry. It's about putting the right players together. You can scratch your head and go, why did that team that was so talented not win? And why did this team that seemingly has less talent win? Well, with Kevin Durant, it was just, there was so much talent, but it was because Steph Curry is Steph Curry. Like, okay, I don't have to have the ball all the time. And Kevin Durant's like, it's cool. I don't have to have the ball all the time. And Klay Thompson's like, look, I'll just catch the ball and shoot it. I really don't care. It doesn't change my job. And Draymond Green's like, well, I'm going to be able to, do my thing. I do the dirty work. So you got a dirty work guy on the team, and then you had role players all around that. And so it worked for the Warriors. I'm just using them as one example. And same thing with Jordan's Bulls. I mean, Jordan was great. Pippen was the Robin. He had a lot of guys defend. Everybody realized their roles. I mean, that's why a lot of times when you look at sports, NFL makes it so that you can't really have everybody. Major League Baseball makes it, but the team that spends the most money doesn't always win, although it does help with the Dodgers and all that kind of stuff. But the Mets spend a bunch of money and they don't win. There is a chemistry about this whole thing. So just you sent me off on a tangent on that kind of thing, because that's, there is something to that. And it's not just about having the best players. So as we transition to the discussion of how Jimmy Butler is going to fit on the Warriors, I can't tell you 100%. Steph Curry is going to be a leader on the court. Now, the interesting part, and this is something that we brought up, and people were doing that Bob Barker thing where, and it was Happy Gilmore, and they were fighting, and they were saying first practice, Jimmy versus Draymond Green. I don't know Jimmy Butler. I mean, I've interviewed him and things like that, but I don't know Jimmy Butler. So will Jimmy Butler come in here like Durant? Where Durant came in and on the court was totally cool with being a backseat guy, but eventually, and he only lasted 3 years here, eventually he said, yeah, I'm not a backseat guy, I'm a front seat guy. I'm a Batman, not a Robin, and he just couldn't handle it. And he couldn't handle the media not giving him the accolades and not giving him what he felt he deserved. And here I am, a 2-time finals MVP, and you don't win those without me. And so he wanted to find his own way, so that in the end, part of his legacy was that Kevin Durant had his own team and won a championship on what is considered to be his team, not Steph's team, not the Warriors team. So he wanted to go out and find his way like a solo artist, right? You have this band that's just kicking ass. It's a great band. You're selling tons of records. It's awesome, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, I want to be a solo artist because I know I can do this on my own and I don't need everybody else. And everybody's, you know how like the singer and the lead guitarist get in a fight because who gets credit? Like, is it Eddie Van Halen that gets the credit, or is it David Lee Roth? Is it, well, it's Eddie Van Halen. He was awesome. But I mean, there's, all these different bands, and it's like you always see these fights, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and you go on down the line through the history of time, and it's like, well, who gets the credit for that? Well, I wrote this song and I wrote that song, and this riff is great. And it's like, hey, you're awesome, man. You're the Stones, you're the Beatles, you're Van Halen, you're the, everybody, like, there's enough accolades to go around. It's cool, man. You're just the best. Like, you guys are the best, but somebody wants to go out and be a solo artist. Kevin Durant's like, I don't want to give any credit away, man. I know Steph is the lead singer and everybody's staring at Steph, but I'm a badass lead guitarist. I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to show you. And so Durant goes to Brooklyn and Durant goes to Phoenix, and like, it's not happening. But he didn't want to come back and be in the band. He didn't want to be a part of the band. Like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to be a solo artist. And I don't care if I win no titles. I'm going to be a solo artist. Now, let me move this because we've already had that conversation. Let me move it to Jimmy Butler. I don't know if Jimmy Butler, if it has to be Jimmy Butler's team. And when you're on Steph Curry's team and you're moved to Golden State, it will never be your team. And I like the trade, but when you look at it and somebody's as well-traveled as Jimmy Butler is, you have an issue. Like Jimmy Butler's with the Bulls. Jimmy Butler can't fit in Minnesota. He's yelling at young players. It sounds a little Draymond-ish in that the reason why there's coaches and players don't coach, I mean, you can give advice and you can do all those kind of things, but it's kind of annoying sometimes because the coach has a plan for each player because there's enough, there's not 50 players on a team. So you can give individualized attention. So, for example, on Wiggins, which we'll get into a conversation, Steve Kerr had to handle Wiggins a certain way, and he can handle Curry a certain way and handle Draymond a certain way. Like, you can give individualized advice to all these players and treat them a certain way. Not everybody gets treated equally. We all know that in life. You got to treat everybody equally. No, you don't, because if a sales guy's kicking ass or if somebody's better looking or there's all sorts of variables that go into life on how people get treated. And when it comes to sports, the better you are, the better you get treated. The worse you are, you're Dennis Schroeder. And he says that he's a slave, and then he gets traded to Utah, and then he's not going to be in Utah, and he's going to get bought out. And so, yeah, you're a nice role player, Dennis Schroeder, and you're going to get traded and passed around, and that's too bad for you. And you got to pull your kids out of school, and that stinks. But the reality is, when you're great, that doesn't happen as much. So I don't know what Jimmy Butler's going to be, but I do know this. Jimmy Butler's got to accept the fact that while you were in Chicago, and that's where you were drafted, so maybe that was your team, but then you moved to Minnesota, and you're kind of having a power struggle there, and that didn't work out. You go to Philadelphia, and you're kind of having a bit of a power struggle there. And then in Miami, you found your team. That was Jimmy Butler's team. Bam Adebayo was on that team. Tyler Hero was on that team. There was a number of guys that were really good on that team. That was Jimmy Butler's team. When they went play into NBA Finals and playoff Jimmy was hatched, that was Jimmy's team, and that was Jimmy Butler, and that was playoff Jimmy, and that everything like that. But if he thinks he's coming to Golden State and everyone's going to bow down and say, this is Jimmy's team, as Judas Priest once says, you got another thing coming, because that's not happening. This is Steph's team, and Steph is quiet about it, and he's not going to crave the spotlight. He's had plenty of it, and he understands that at this point in his career, it's just about winning. It is about nothing else but winning. He doesn't care. Draymond Green, on the other hand, if you're going to challenge him, and I would say that if Draymond Green yells at Kevin Durant the way that he did all those years ago, I believe, like I said, in LA against the Clippers, there's going to be a melee right there on the court. And there may be between then and now, because, when you're trying to figure out chemistry on a team, and this is why it's important, it's not fantasy. I got Jimmy Butler in fantasy basketball and he's going to play. That's not real sports. You got to find roles, and there's chemistry, and you're around each other, and you're on airplanes, and you're in hotels, and you're eating together, and you're constantly together during the season. And for some people, it's like, dude, and then you throw that in, and look, I don't know if Jimmy Butler is always on, like he's on the court, and that can be annoying. Draymond is always on. Draymond is always Draymond, and you know that. Is Jimmy always Jimmy? I know that's weird to say, but again, we all have friends like that. Like friends can be boisterous and fun and everything, but they got to be able to read the room as well, where it's like, if I want to chill or you want to chill, or it's like, man, turn it off. Like just, or turn it down. You know what I mean? Turn the Jimmy down, or turn the Draymond down. Steph is not Steph all the time. He's got multiple levels to himself and multiple sides. And, most people are like that, where it's like, okay, if you need to be that sales guy who's boisterous in a meeting, that's one thing. Or if I need to do my show and, have energy, that's one thing. But, you can't be that all the time. Draymond kind of is. George Kittle is, which has been an issue with the 49ers, as great as he is. Like, sometimes it's like, bro, can you please turn it down or off? Nope. I got one volume. I got one speed. There's some people like that. So is Jimmy Butler like that? I don't know. I don't think anybody within the organization knows what Jimmy Butler is exactly like. So there's going to be a chemistry test that's going to happen here. And many of us are sitting here, and maybe it will be absolutely positively nothing. But most of us, I think I'm accurate in this, are sitting back going, hey, good player, playoff Jimmy, okay, really good, liked Wiggins, but I see why they did it. Upside, going to make Steph happy, great. But it's not a 100% slam dunk, because from a chemistry standpoint, is Jimmy cool just chilling in the background? But I'm Jimmy Butler, third wheel on this team. Because while he may be better than Draymond Green from a statistical standpoint, Draymond Green's been here the whole time, and he's not taking a back seat. And Steph Curry's been here the whole time, and he'll take a back seat to a certain extent, but on the court he won't, because all of a sudden he becomes Clark Kent to Superman. Like, he's chill. He's chill off the court, but he comes on the court and he's an assassin. He's a killer. He's laughing at you. He's dancing. That's the Steph Curry on the court. He's on. So anyway, we'll see how that chemistry side of things works. Now, this is something I showed last night, and let's get into the trade itself, as we're 50 minutes into the show. Thanks for joining us. John Lund Unleashed on a Thursday, talking about Jimmy Butler. The Warriors got him yesterday. So talking about Jimmy Butler today and the reaction from the fan base of it and the rest of the trades. We can talk all about the NBA trades and how teams made themselves better or worse. And we'll get to that too today on the show. But in the short term, and so Jimmy was a child and was throwing tantrums. So Miami didn't get the best of Jimmy Butler, but whatever. That's just an excuse. So there is the comparison just this season, Jimmy versus Wiggs. 43 games, 25 games. You can see that. Points, Wiggs a little bit more. Rebounds, Butler a little bit more. Better passer is Butler. Steals about the same. Field goal percentage, fair amount higher. But Jimmy's a different offensive kind of a player. He's not a huge three-point guy. He's a really good mid-range guy. So he'll get to the rim. He'll mix it up. And so he's not going to take as many. Three-point percentage a little bit better. Whereas, Wiggs doesn't have that mid-range game. So he's more of a slasher and a shooter. Free throw percentage about the same, blah, blah, blah. So I think you can say that while Butler is the overall better player, that in terms of the season Andrew Wiggins is having because he was able to clear his head with his off-the-court issues and his father and all those kind of things, that Jimmy for Wiggins, based on this season alone, there's not a lot of huge difference. And actually, Wiggins might have been the better player. And Wiggins is a good guy, and everybody likes him. And I'll play something from Steve Kerr in a second. So just based on this season, there's not a lot of difference. It's not huge. Based in the last 5 years, so in Butler's case, 258 games. In Wiggs' case, almost 300. And I don't care about head-to-head, whatever. But you can see there that, Jimmy's a 20-point scorer when he's on, grabs 6 boards, dish 6 assists. That's the guy they're hoping to get. That's the guy. 51% from the field. Not a great three-point shooter at 32%. Good free throw shooter, and that's big because he gets to the rim, so he gets to the line. So he's going to improve that when we're all complaining about how the Warriors never get to the line. There's a guy that will get to the line in Jimmy Butler. He knows how to get to the line. So that should improve everything. So with a bigger sample size, other than the 25 games that Jimmy Butler played this season versus the 43 Wiggs played, and Wiggs had a clear head, Jimmy Butler's the better player. Is it huge at this point of their career? We'll see, because Jimmy Butler has got to be playoff Jimmy, and that's who they traded for. So as we talk about different roles and Clark Kent's and Supermans and all these different things and how he's going to fit in, the Warriors, just so you know, think they traded for playoff Jimmy. And maybe they did. They traded for hardcore Jimmy, hard-nosed Jimmy. I got my contract extension. I'm happy Jimmy. That's the guy that dragged the Heat to the NBA Finals, despite the fact that they were a play-in team, playoff Jimmy. That's the guy that the Warriors are saying that's who we traded for. So if we get complaining Jimmy, and if we get, I'm going to fight with Draymond Jimmy, and I care about like Durant, I care about what people are saying about me, Jimmy, then yeah, that's a problem. And you really didn't gain much, if anything, or you maybe lost something because Wiggins was having a good season. So that's kind of that part of it. You've probably seen the trade. So let me just pop it up there. So this is why they had to put so many people or so many guys in the trade, because Jimmy Butler makes $50 million and Wiggins makes like 28. So now you're still short $20 million. So the Warriors get Butler, the Heat get Wiggins, they get PJ Tucker, protected number one that comes from the Warriors. The Pistons, we hardly knew Lindy Waters. The Jazz get Schroeder. He's going to get bought out, and he's angry. And then I think there might be a holdup with Kyle Anderson, but I don't think he's coming back here. So you had to give up Kyle Anderson, Dennis Schroeder, Lindy Waters, Andrew Wiggins, protected one. You get Butler. You like the move. That's in front of your face right now. Do you like that move to get Butler and give up Wiggins, a protected one, Waters, Schroeder, Anderson? Those names to me don't matter. People were nice to Kyle Anderson, whatever. It didn't move the needle for me. Schroeder, as I told you, wasn't going to be much of a difference maker because he put up numbers on a bad team with a lot of minutes. He was never going to do that here, and it's hard to get those numbers within the context of a winning team. He didn't. We thought that. We knew who he was. He was a veteran. Not that he wasn't going to help a little bit, but I think when people saw him play those 34 minutes a night with the Nets on a bad team, and he was averaging 18 and 6 assists, going, wow, that's where we're getting it. It's like, no, that's not who you're getting. But there's the trade. So tell me what you think of that. And then this was the Butler extension announced by Shams. 2-year, $121 with the franchise through 20, blah, 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 declining, blah, 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 blah. So again, whatever. Millions, millions, millions. You and I can't relate. It's just a matter of Jimmy should be happy. That's all we care about, right? The number is irrelevant to me. Is Jimmy happy over the next 2 years because he got an extension? I hope so. I mean, that's what they thought they were going to do. So that's what they did, and they gave him an extension. So that's what's done. That's what's done. In terms of let's see. This I don't think is going to matter, but I put it up on the screen just because I think it's maybe. So this is from The Athletic. This is Anthony Slater, does a great job covering the Warriors. Butler and the Warriors can be viewed as backup plans for each other, a marriage of circumstance between two sides who desired and probably still do desire others, but they're here now. I don't love that. And it's not that I don't love the writing of Anthony Slater. I do. That's not what I mean. What I mean by that is, so Jimmy Butler settled and the Warriors settled. And I always tell you this, sports doesn't always make sense with real life. It doesn't. But when you've settled for something in your life, have you been happy? If you settled for that person when you know you wanted to be with another person, eventually it's going to come. You just go, you know what? This isn't working. You thought it could, but it didn't. Or if you ordered something, food, you're like, I should have ordered that other thing. I know that's overly simplistic, but it's like, I settled for this. I settled for that. They didn't have this, so I bought that. I bought the wrong car. I really wanted that car, but they didn't have it in that color, so I bought this car. And the day you drive it off the lot, you're feeling great. And a couple days later, you go, what was I thinking? So when I see something like that, the Butler can be viewed as backup plans for each other, a marriage of circumstance between two sides who desired and probably still do desire others, but they're here now. Now, they don't have to be with each other that long because Jimmy Butler's only signing a 2-year extension, but still, my question would be this. Are they going to get bad Jimmy? Not now. Everything's kumbaya right now, at least for a minute. But is he going to get pissed off by not being the alpha when it's Draymond Green because he's been here so long and you're just not going to change that pecking order? Is he going to be pissed when the big shot at the end is going to be drawn up by Steve Kerr and it's not going to be for you, Jimmy, who has hit so many shots and so many big moments on his team, the Miami Heat? Now, he's been on a lot of different teams, but he finally found his team in the Miami Heat, and it was always thought of that way. That's Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat. That's Heat culture brought on by Jimmy Butler. That's Jimmy Butler who dragged them to the NBA Finals. That's Jimmy Butler who played, so well in the bubble. All these different things. Heat Jimmy. Now it's, look, Warriors Steph, Warriors Draymond, Warriors Steve Kerr, Warriors former championships, Warriors Jimmy Butler who just came aboard. Kevin Durant couldn't handle it. Kevin Durant couldn't handle not being, when you thought of the Warriors, you thought of Kevin Durant. He's like, what the hell, bro? I came here. We won 2 championships. I got 2 finals MVP championships. I hit that big jumper against Cleveland to seal that. And if I don't get my Achilles blown out in game 5 and 19, we win that one too. And I can't get respect on my name. Now, look, everybody around here knows we did respect Kevin Durant, but not to the level that he wanted. He wanted that, that godlike status that Steph Curry has because he's been here the whole time. Sorry, dude. You can't be a hired gun and run all over the league and jump to different teams and be that guy. You were that guy in Oklahoma City and it wasn't good enough for you. Whether it wasn't a big market, you were too big of a fish in a small pond, you didn't think you could win a championship with Harden and Westbrook, whatever the case may be, you left the place that idolized you at that level. You got brought in there, you were a Sonic for 1 year, then you went to OKC, and that was your team. Despite the fact that Westbrook was there and Harden was there, the Oklahoma City Thunder were Kevin Durant's team. And that was apparently important to him because he jumped around because he went to the Warriors and winning 2 championships and being on the verge of a third, except for there was an injury to him and Klay Thompson, as we well know. We don't need to go down that road. But not getting those accolades and not being treated as the savior and a god and being behind in the pecking order to one Steph Curry here was not good enough for him. And he didn't like it and he couldn't handle it. Even in the short term, he couldn't. He was sad, not sad, but he kind of seemed bitter and angry the whole time he was here. Like, why aren't I getting more? So if Jimmy Butler is going to be along that same track and be like, wait a minute, I'm behind Steph Curry. Okay, I can deal with that. I'm behind Draymond Green? Huh? I'm better than that dude. Now, I'm going to be the muscle. I'm going to get in front, those kind of things. If he has a problem with Draymond Green being Draymond Green on this team, we know this, Dre ain't changing, and Dre isn't going to take a back seat. Oh, Jimmy, you're the guy here. You're the emotional guy. You're the tone setter of the team. Oh, that's cool. I'll let you have that. That's Draymond Green's whole thing, man. How many times has Draymond Green said, this is how I play. This is how I do it. This is how I got to do it. It's how I got to play. And that's going to be a problem. Like, Steph Curry's going to be cool. Steph's like, whatever, dude. Do whatever you want. Just like Klay was. Like, Klay was like, whatever, man. Kevin Durant's coming aboard. Doesn't change my game. I remember that interview. It was like, I'm just going to shoot, man. I'm going to get the ball and shoot. Then that change my game. There might be an issue between Draymond and Jimmy Butler. I don't know that that's going to be kumbaya. And the fact that they're already saying that they're the backup plan for each other. Again, sports is different, and maybe that's totally fine, and maybe I'm overthinking that whole thing. But a lot of times, that there's such massive ego involved that might be an issue. So give me your thought on that. And I'm positive. I like the trade. I want to make sure that I reiterate that again and again. They had to make a move. Steph Curry was going to ask this organization in the offseason with no moves. Hey, Billy, why no moves? Some people think that's funny. But with no moves, Steph Curry was going to ask for a trade in the offseason. And nobody told me that, but it's just logic. I don't want to be on a mediocre team. He said it 10 times in the last 2 weeks in interviews. He didn't do it by accident. Nothing that he does is not with thought. And he basically said over and over again in different ways and different verbiage, I don't want to be on a mediocre team. I want to win basketball games. I want them to make moves. You could tell, too, his demeanor changed in the last couple of weeks. Like, I'm not going to be Steph, jovial Steph, and fun Steph, and smiley Steph, and what you expect me to be, and CEO Steph, because I want to be better. And I want to tell the organization, I want it to be better. And I guarantee you, as nice as Steph is and the big smile on his face, he's an assassin. So behind enemy lines here, I guarantee you he went to the organization and said, I'm telling you, if nothing gets done, he's not threatening. He's just simply saying that these are facts. If nothing gets done, we're going to have a really difficult conversation in the offseason because I don't want my final years to be, as a lot of people said, wasted. I love it here. I'll be a warrior for life. I'll come back. I'll be CEO. I'll do all these different things. I'll be warrior man for life. But the next 2 years, I'm going to be Team X, and try to win a championship. And you'll get what you get back, and it's going to suck, and I'm not going to be on one team. But now I think Steph Curry finishes his career here. I don't think there's any doubt, unless Butler goes crazy. And that could happen. I mean, the guy went certifiable in Miami and was just like, I got to get out of here. If he can do it one place, he'll do it again. That's why, when you see in personal relationships, people are shocked. If somebody cheats, probably going to cheat again. If somebody's a jerk and puts his hands on a woman he's probably going to do it again. So if you put yourself in that situation, just know what you're getting into. That I like the trade, and I'm saying I like the trade, and I like it because the Warriors, I think, and we'll get into this in just a second, I think the Warriors can get up to 5, 6 and out of the play-in with Jimmy Butler, and then you get Butler, Green, Curry. Maybe they make a trade today, and all of a sudden those young teams at the top, like Oklahoma City and Memphis and Houston, who haven't won anything, have these vets walking in the building, and they're shaking, they're getting nervous. So look, in that sense, I'm very, very pro Jimmy Butler trade, but I'm not. My eyes are wide open, and I'm thinking to myself, this could turn into like a bitter Durant thing where they can't figure out the pecking order. As stupid as that sounds, and Steph Curry says, "Look, I'm cool with everything, but Draymond and Jimmy Butler are like having some kind of fight for team control and emotional leader." And that sounds dumb, but these guys have massive egos, and that's the way Jimmy's always played. Jimmy's always on every team he's been on in the NBA. He's been the alpha. And if he hasn't been the alpha, there's been a problem. And so for the last number of years in Miami, Jimmy Butler's Heat, that's his team. And now he's going to have to be third banana. And it should be easy because you just want to win, right? You're 35, you just want to win. But I told you a month or 6 weeks ago, for Jimmy Butler, it was about an extension. And then it was about winning because he wasn't going anywhere without an extension. He forced his way out of Miami not because he didn't think they could win, because he didn't get an extension at 35 and wanted to get one final payday. Could have gone to Phoenix, but they had the extension. They didn't have the trade. And the Warriors had the trade, didn't have the extension. And finally, when it came to the 11th hour, Joe Lacob panicked, and for good reason, and said, I owe Steph Curry. Okay, it's a backup plan to get Jimmy Butler, but we're going to do it. So there's the backdrop on everything. Let me get out to the comments before we go out to. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the Western Conference and see where these guys sit. I'd be really interested to know what your thought is on where the Warriors sit now after the Jimmy Butler trade. Let's get out to Bill M. Hi, Bill M. It's great to see you. Thank you for the donation. You are tremendous. Thought it was Butler who said no to extending first. Butler said no to a trade. Thank you for that. By the way, let me pop this up here longer. Butler said no to the trade because the Warriors weren't offering him an extension. That's the way I heard it, was that they had a general framework of a deal, although they had to add all these different teams. But the Warriors, after kind of doing some work, said, well, would you come here? And Jimmy Butler said, would you give me an extension? They said, well, we have a trade worked out. And he said, do you have an extension worked out? And they said no. And he said no. And then 48 hours later, after checking in with Kevin Durant, who said no, I think they checked in with the Lakers, who said thanks, but no thanks. And I think they're going to regret that, the Lakers, but we'll see. After probably, and I don't know that they checked in on Zion Williamson to the extent that people said, but for the piece yesterday that I wrote at JohnLundUnleashed.com before all this went down, and it's still a very relevant piece, so you should check it out on the blog, is I looked at the scenarios. I looked at, since Durant said no to him, I said, okay, let's in the afternoon. And I started writing this piece and put a video piece that, like I said, I ditched after Jimmy Butler agreed, because I was literally dotting I's, crossing T's, and ready to hit send on it. But so I went through these different scenarios of, okay, LeBron, Jimmy Butler, all these different guys, or Stan Pat, and Steph's going to ask for a trade in the offseason. And one of the things I went through on Zion was, and just doing the research, I know he's missed a ton of games, but he's the third heaviest guy in all of the NBA. And the other two guys ahead of him are big centers, and he's 284 pounds listed. So he's the third heaviest guy in the league, which is leading, I think, to these injuries and issues and problems. But the other part where I just don't think that the Warriors could stomach this and giving up, they would have had to give up Kuminga and some other guys. And definitely, it's like, okay, we're taking a chance on a 24-year-old guy who could be a star. And he's a star, but I mean, he could really be a superstar if he got in shape. And, I think he could lead the league in scoring. I think he could be a double-digit rebounder. He jumps out of the gym. He could be a guy that you could build around at the age of 24. But then I looked at it a little bit more closely. He's played in 198 of 410 possible games. That's 46%, less than half. You know that because you know math. But less than half of the games he's played in at the age of 24. And he showed no inclination to want to really get in shape. I mean, this has been going on a long time, and he's getting paid a lot of money, $36 million this year in New Orleans. And it's hard, man. Red beans and rice is good, as we're seeing. George is going to check in from the Super Bowl again today. But, red beans and rice is good, and po' boys are good, and jambalaya is good. And it's like, it's hard, man. It's hard to put the fork down. I'm not one to sit here and say it's easy. It's not. It's one of the, what the health industry in terms of people being overweight in our country is billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. Everybody's like, man, I'm on a diet. I'm on a diet. I'm on a diet. So it's not easy what Zion's going through. But if that's your life, Steph Curry and all these other guys who keep themselves in great shape, you should be able to do it. But at the age of 24, he hasn't shown the discipline. So I don't know how much the Warriors looked into him, but that was the list that I put together. And this was certainly the backup plan as far as Jimmy Butler is concerned, but we'll see. But yeah, the way I heard it was they talked in about 48 hours ago, and this was made public for a reason, I'm telling you, because this is how everything works, is that they didn't have an extension for him. And he said, okay. And then the Warriors looked around a little bit. They made some more calls. They got a little more desperate. We heard yesterday that, they were desperate. We heard that they wanted Durant, that they might be able to get Durant. And then when Durant said no, they went, what the hell are we going to do? And they doubled back, and they said, and Jimmy said, look, okay, you got a deal in place, but if you don't give me an extension, you're going to get bad, Jimmy. Like, obviously, he doesn't have a no-trade clause like Bradley Beal does, and you could technically trade for the guy, but he's 35 years old with an expiring contract. You're not giving up Andrew Wiggins and other things for a 35-year-old guy who's going to be pissed off and doesn't have an extension and is not going to sign with you, because even if you had, I think, offered him an extension at that point, he'd have just been like, I'm pissed. No, I'm not going to do it, just to spite you, because you might be that kind of a guy. So to me, they had to give him the extension because they wanted to get happy Jimmy, and they had to give him extension because Steph Curry was saying, look, bottom line. Yeah, 198 of 410. I looked, like, we all know, we're like, he misses a lot of games. And then I looked at all the games he's missed. I mean, he missed an entire season. This year he's played in 14 of 40 games. So it's not like it's getting better. Like, you go, like Christian McCaffrey. Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey and went, well, it was bad here, but he is, playing in some games now. He's really like Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis early in his career, but he's like injury prone. Anthony Davis has played in most of the games for the Lakers, and he doesn't really get hurt. So, you can call a guy injury prone, and yeah, that's an accurate description of some players. But when it comes to Zion Williamson, it's just like, that's ridiculous. And the biggest part to me was, you're 284 pounds on a 6'6" frame. Now, for an offensive lineman, you probably need to put on 20 pounds. But in the NBA, you probably need to lose 20 pounds. So Zion Williamson at 260, 265, I think could be a guy that could lead the league in scoring. But if the Warriors didn't feel good about it, it's not as simple as saying we're going to have him lose 20 pounds and he's going to be a superstar. Ask Pablo. It doesn't always work like that. So anyway. All right, there you go, Steve. Curry with the ankle problems early in the year. Sometimes it works out. I mean, they got him on a 4-44 back then, and it was like, man, what a deal. But sometimes it's like, this dude can't get in shape. And it's not like we don't have food in the Bay Area, right? I mean, it's like I was mentioning all the food in Nolans and everything like that, but I mean, dude, it's not like, man, he's gonna starve here. There's no food here. You can find food anywhere, and we have great food too. It's just, believe me, go down and I mean, where do you start? Unbelievable. You can do a lot of damage, like in North Beach or something. Just hit some delis, hit some Italian, hit up some pizza, go to Tony's. I mean, you're good night. It's not like you couldn't find stuff here. I mean, you start at it. I mean, he could just consume bread chowder bowls. I mean, let's go. So it's not like, oh, you moved from New Orleans. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be absolutely fine. All right, let's start playing some stuff from yesterday. This was so let me. And we'll get to that. Butler. Oh, this is here. Let's do this first. Here's Shams yesterday on how all this went down. I kind of told you how it went down, but here's Shams' version on ESPN.
Protected first-round pick going to Miami. So after a almost 2-month-long saga between the Heat and Jimmy Butler, he is now out. He's going to a Western Conference home, a hopeful contender. He's going to join Steph and Curry, Draymond Green. They've been looking all year for a star player to join those two in that Warriors rotation and lineup. They have aspirations for a championship. They want Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, to be a big part of it.
All right, there you go. There's Shams giving you the update yesterday. You know that. Probably the funniest part of yesterday, and you may or may not have seen this. We played it on the show, on the breaking news show last night, but I want to play this for you again. So this is at the Heat game, and there's a guy sitting behind the Heat bench, and they don't know anything. They're playing, so they don't know anything about a Jimmy Butler trade. And then this guy breaks the news to him, and it's hilarious because you'll see Kevin Love, you'll see Tyler Hero. There's a couple other guys sitting, but Love's actually asking questions like, "What's going on here?" So in today's day and age, this is how it works. Guy's got the phone, and he's breaking the news to the Heat bench that Jimmy Butler's been traded.
And Andrew Wiggins.
Okay.
We robbed them. First round pick, protected.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it right now. Like, right next to
No, they didn't give out the year. No.
Wait, are you kidding?
The girl next to him, are you kidding? And Kevin Love's like, now what's going on and who's coming and what do we got? And you got Wiggins in a 1, and then they distributed a bunch of other players around the NBA. So there you go. Yeah, Malika Andrews is awesome. We had her on many, many times, Antonio. She is great. Both Andrews sisters are absolutely tremendous. Gambino's very, very underrated 5950/84. We had a Gambino's right across the street from KMBR, and I didn't get the sandwiches as much as I got the breakfast burritos. We haven't talked breakfast burritos on this show, but breakfast burritos, oh my gosh, that is probably my biggest weakness, breakfast burritos. And they had one across the street, and I was getting so fat that I finally stopped going over there. But the thing that was so bad about it was they knew us, and so I'd say, "Hey, I'll just, I'll buy a few for the crew." I wouldn't put potatoes in them because it was like way too much, but I would do one with chorizo, egg, a few different kind of cheeses, some avocado in there. What else was in that thing? I don't know, but man, and they would like wrap it in the foil, so it would stay hot. Oh, I would eat those, and they were gut bombs though, and you were just like, oh my god. So I had to quit going over there. But yeah, good spot, great sandwiches. But I wasn't really a sandwich guy as much as I was a breakfast burrito guy. And that was one thing when I was going into the studio every single day, Monday through Friday. I just stopped, because I would park my car and then I'd walk by probably 2 or 3 coffee joints, 2 or 3 burrito places, and I would just rotate them. But Gambino's was right across the street, so we would get burritos from there all the time. And it was like, oh man. And I gained 20 pounds. Yeah, look, man, you can find it if you're looking and you want to do it. You can be great with healthy food. I can do that. About, you know what I do? I don't know why, but this is just it. I think many people feel like this with weather like it is today. Like I'll eat food that is, I'm not going to say the worst for you. I'm not sitting here wolfing down candy and hot tamales and chips and things like that. I don't do that. But in the wintertime, it's like you look outside, you're like, ugh. And so you want like more comfort food, which is not the healthiest food. And then all of a sudden, we're actually in that area. Oh my gosh, we got a pool and everything. And so I start looking at that thing and I have to start working with it. And so I start going, oh my gosh, I got to start losing weight. So I always look good in the spring and the summer. Not good, but it's relatively speaking, right? I don't look horrendous. And then in the wintertime, it's like, so I got to get back on it. It's already February. My God, man, I got to get back on it. Yeah, this is one way to put it. Butler is sloppy seconds after KD fell through. I mean, I am a little bit concerned about that, and not so much of what it means, but to me and you, I can only speak for me, but I think we're on the same wavelength here. For me or you, it's like, whatever, man. Like, if a deal gets done, a deal gets done. If I'm sloppy seconds, I don't care. If, in your personal life, if that's what your your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. It's I don't care. Like, we're moving forward with it. I don't care what the choice was. My wife's first choice was probably Brad Pitt or something along those lines. I mean, I'm not her first choice. Look at me. There's no way I'm her first choice. I'm good with that. I'm probably like down the line. I might be 20, 30 down the line, but you know what? It is what it is. And now let's make the best of it. I fooled her into marrying me and I outkicked my coverage and all these kind of things. So the reality of it is I don't care where it is now. Like, if you're Jimmy Butler, who cares? Like, this is where you are. We just gave you a $121 million extension. We love you, at least for now. Like, they put the ring on the finger. And when you give someone $121 million over 2 years, you're married. Well, maybe you're not. You don't have a no trade clause. Divorce is ugly. It could get ugly. Yeah, chorizo's so good. I would love a chorizo burrito right now, but I can't do it. I got to go over to the damn phone store today. God, I'm stupid. Don't throw your phone. It's never worth it. Look at that. Never worth it. Plus, I got to check my phone. Because George is supposed to come on at some point, and he's probably like, why is he not texting me? Hang on 1 second. I gotta do that in 1 sec. Great question. Yeah, let's move on to that. I'm glad that you texted that in, Laura, because how can the Warriors get back to the playoffs? They've been to the play, and you're right. They haven't been to the playoffs. I like your, by the way, that's a sweet Niners hat there. I really like it. Let's advance this conversation, but let me do one thing first because I got to see if George is texting me. And since I have a broken phone, I got to go over to my iPad here. But yeah, I want to get into it. And I've said it 9 times and we keep getting on to different tangents. We don't. I do. But let me see here real quick. All right, let me hit him up real quick. He just said, kiddo walking around. Do you want to come on? Sorry. He said I can come on pretty soon. Yeah, walk and talk. Walk and talk is good. He said it's way busier today. I told him. Radio Row, Media Row. So Monday's slow, painfully slow. Tuesday's a little bit better. Wednesday gets rocking. Thursday is out of control. And Friday actually is a little bit slower because what people do is they want to finish up on Friday. They want to go out. They want to party, especially in New Orleans. And then Saturday, the airports are nuts because the people who aren't covering the game will then leave town. And that's what's going to happen in New Orleans. So today really is the bananas day. Friday's pretty bananas, but Thursday is out of control. So he just said, let's see, 12. Come on, bro. He just said 10:15. What time is it right now? 9:30. Okay, I'll just say that works. That's fine because we still have a lot to do. That works. 10:15 my time. Okay. And the thing is that I'm doing all caps because it's on caps and I don't want to leave you hanging there. So I'm like, bro, let's do Radio Row 10:15. All right, 10:15 for Gio. And I do have some before I bring him on. I did cut a promo yesterday with him. And if you missed the entire interview you did yesterday, and I hope he can do better today, but it was an outstanding interview. It was about 25 minutes long. If you go to Lund Unleashed, you can see it there, or just go to the YouTube channel, John Lund Unleashed, and you can see it because I cut out the interview. So if you go to the YouTube page, John Lund Unleashed, and you've got all the different categories for different videos that you can watch, there's an interview category down there, and you can see him. You may have to scroll to it, but you can see the entire 20-minute interview yesterday. It was hilarious, especially when he did the thing about the woman off Bourbon Street that had no teeth. That was the highlight to me, even though he was showing Debo in the Eagles shirt or jersey and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it was really cool. We saw Fred Warner. He was flipping his camera around and doing all that. So he'll do that again today. But I thought the highlight was when he tried to talk like a person from New Orleans and then talked about the woman with no teeth. I thought that was good. So 10:15. That's not that long. 45 minutes. I think I can handle that clear in 45 minutes. So we'll be fine. Yeah, let's do that in 45 minutes. All right. Let's see. Do we want to do this before? You know what? I got some curry, but let's do this. Because I've teased this about 5 times and I want to get your thoughts on it. So let's look at the standings. All right. We did Butler. We did Durant. We did all this stuff. Did we talk about Vucevic possibly? We did, right? Might not be done dealing. Yeah, we popped that up. That's a weird looking face there. Don't like those uniforms. Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm Joe Lacob, I'm going all in. Like, I got more trades. I got to put, GP2 in a trade. I got to put Looney in a trade to equal that money. I got to give him a first. I got to give him a second. Maybe they sweeten the deal. I don't know. I mean, to me, I wouldn't want him to trade Moses Moody. I really like Moody. I'm not saying above Kuminga, but I think he's going to be a good rotational player in the NBA. But they might have to throw in a young because I'm the Bulls. GP2, Kevon Looney, not that they're not important guys, but they're doing it just to match salaries. And a 2, that's what people were banding about today. I'm like, I don't think that's getting it done. They might want a young player too. So we'll see. Anyway, there's that. All right, let's get to this because visuals work. So let's get to this part. Western Conference only. This is the way it currently stands as of this morning. Oklahoma City, if you're listening on the podcast, I'll just explain it to you because you can't see it. Oklahoma City, Memphis, Houston. That to me, that's one group right there. By the way, Oklahoma City gets Chet Holmgren back today. And I had totally forgotten that Holmgren was even hurt or even on that team the other night when the Warriors beat him. And it's like, oh, yeah, Chet Holmgren's on that team, and they're still 40-9. So Chet Holmgren comes back for Oklahoma City after he fractured his hip. He hasn't played since November. So that's like a really good trade deadline deal for them. So Oklahoma City's there. Memphis, Houston. That's one category that we'll get back to in a second. The Nuggets have won a championship. The Lakers have championship pieces. So, are they going to be better? That's interesting. The Clippers, I always say this, they're doing it with smoke and mirrors, but give Ty Lue credit because the Clippers play hard for Ty Lue. So no matter who they have or don't in Kawhi Leonard's case, James Harden and Norman Powell have been really, really good. Now, if Kawhi comes back, if, and plays at Kawhi levels, whatever that means anymore, then, yeah, they can maintain where they are at 28-22. But if he doesn't, then I think that that could be a spot the Warriors could get to. I think the Lakers are going to take a minute to gel with both Luka and LeBron, the LNL boys, being ball-dominant players who are kind of indifferent defensively. So how are they going to work things out? Like the chemistry with Butler, I'm more worried about the chemistry off the court than on the court. He's not a ball-dominant player. He might be upset that he doesn't get the ball often down the stretch, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So my issue with the Warriors and Butler are more chemistry related. My issue with the Lakers is really on court related to say, how are they going to do this and distribute and dominate the ball? And neither's an off the ball player. Neither's a typical great shooter. So we'll see. So it might take a minute for the Lakers. The Clippers, we'll see. It could depend on the health if they can stay there on Kawhi Leonard. Minnesota's a dumpster fire at this point. I don't know why they traded Cat, but they did. And now Julius Randle's out for a while. I think they could go downwards. The Mavericks, for everybody who has complained about the trade, and I have been one, and I think it's terrible, and I think what they did was stupid. But short-term, Dallas could actually be better. Short-term, to get Anthony Davis in there and Kyrie, even though they're two Robins and not a Batman, they've got pieces, and they could still be really, really good. And I bet Anthony Davis is extremely motivated because talk about getting disrespected by people like me, by the way, to say, oh, my God, what a terrible trade. And Anthony Davis is thinking to himself, I'm going to the Hall of Fame, like first ballot, right? You know that. So they might be good in the short term. The Kings, I've said this to my Kings fans sitting at 500. Doug Christie has done a great job. I cannot deny. But getting rid of De'Aaron Fox, although could be addition by subtraction because he really wanted out, still, I think that getting Zach LaVine in that deal is not horrible, and he's having a nice year. But a guy who had an immovable contract last offseason, and now he's going to be some sort of a savior, I doubt it. Phoenix, I don't think is going to make a move because Bradley Beal doesn't want to waive his no trade. And I don't want to go back to this Kevin Durant thing over and over and over. But it's like, dude, you're not winning anything in Phoenix. That team's not good. Like Durant and Booker and Beal with 0 off the bench, that's not going anywhere. I don't see it. So why would you want to stay with that team? And I know the Warriors are below you, but with you and Curry and Green, that's a better situation, is it not? But maybe Durant just didn't think it was. And more so to me, again, it's not a basketball issue with him. I don't want to be second fiddle again to Steph. I don't want to play with Draymond. I don't want people to disrespect me. I'm Kevin Durant, damn it. Like, remember that interview that he did? You know who I am? And I just feel like he thinks people didn't know who he was here. That was Steph's team, and he didn't want that. So there are the Warriors sitting there, and then we cannot forget about San Antonio 22 and 26 because once they get De'Aaron Fox in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move today, that they're going to be a problem. So if you go 5 through 11, really, or 5 through 12 even, who's at 5? Lakers have 19 losses, San Antonio's 26, so that might be a bit much. But still, from a Warriors perspective, I think they could finish anywhere from 5 to completely out of the playoffs. I mean, that's a big variance, but they could go 5 to 11. What they want to do is target 6. And you know that because you don't want to do a play-in. This is an older team. You don't want to mess with play-in games. You could be one and done. If they, for some reason or somehow, could get up to number 6 where the Clippers currently sit, let's have that fun for a second. Let's play together, shall we? So with the Warriors, let's just say they get to 6. And as it currently constructed, you're playing the Rockets in the first round. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be an easy series, but what I'm saying is that Houston has a lot of young players, and I don't necessarily know that you couldn't beat. Why is Siri going off? I didn't say Siri. Go back to bed. I don't know that you couldn't necessarily beat the Rockets. In fact, I think you could. That's a weird way of saying couldn't necessarily beat them. I think you'd give the Rockets all they want and probably more because this current version of the Rockets hasn't won anything. They're a really nice young team. They're gelling. They're moving. They could make a move today to consolidate some of that young talent into a really good player. I haven't really heard anything around them, but they could. And as currently constructed, they would probably be shaking in their boots if Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green rocked into their building. I mean, that they could win that series. Okay, so let's just say, okay, for fun, they win. Next series would potentially be Memphis. Could you beat Memphis? Again, really nice team. Great regular season record at 35-16 up there. At home, look at them, 21-5. That's good. I mean, that's a good record. Way to go. They score a lot of points. Look at that, 123.8. That's one of the top offenses in the entire game. I mean, look at the Western Conference. You're scoring 123.8. Nobody's got them. Denver's at 121. So you're scoring the most points in the Western Conference. Hell of an offense. And Jimmy Butler's going to help a little bit defensively. I don't think he's not maybe Wiggins where Wiggins is in their points of their career, but Jimmy's going to effort and Jimmy's going to be a pretty good defender. But could you beat Memphis in a series? I think you could. That's a young basketball team. I got all respect for them. John Morant and company. That's a good team. But again, young, haven't won anything. Warriors have beaten in the playoffs before. They could win that series. And then you'd get to the final, and either you're looking at the 4-1, maybe Denver, Oklahoma City. Maybe the Lakers could get themselves in there. Maybe the Mavericks could get themselves in there. But I'm just playing on today's standings that you'd play either Denver or OKC in the Western Conference final. And again, that would be a major problem. Oklahoma City's 40-9, as you can see there. You can read. And they're getting Chet Holmgren back. So that's a problem. But without Chet Holmgren and without Jonathan Kuminga, by the way, the Warriors beat them at Chase. So it's not like it's this insurmountable team, because if I went over to the Eastern Conference, and I didn't put that on my board, but if I went over the Eastern Conference and said, could you beat Cleveland in a series? No. Can you beat Boston in a series? No. That would be a problem. Could you beat the Knicks in a series? Maybe. But my point is that you look at the Western Conference, Oklahoma City, Memphis, and Houston are really young basketball teams, and they probably don't want anything to do with the Warriors. The Nuggets would be tough, no doubt, especially given their home court advantage. I don't know that you could win a series against Denver. The Lakers would be interesting, depending on how the L&L boys will, how the chemistry works with those guys on the court. And the Clippers are doing it with mirrors, and I think you could beat the Clippers, Minnesota, the Mavericks, Kings, or Suns. And the Mavericks are a team that are going to ascend to me. Not long-term, and I still don't love that trade, but short-term, having Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving won't be terrible. And they got a couple of bigs as well. I don't know how long. Is Gafford out for the year? He might be. If Gafford, or not Gafford, it's not Gafford. It's Lively. Lively's out, not Gafford. Gafford's there. Lively's out. I don't know if I think Lively might be out for the year. So that's a problem. But anyway, there's my look at the Western Conference. I'll leave that up for just one more second. Then I want to get your thoughts on it. How far do you think they could go? How far do you think they can climb in the regular season? I think they could get as high as 6. I don't think that the Timberwolves are good. The Kings are good. The Suns are good. The Spurs could come up from the backside, especially if they get a trade today. By the way, Lakers really underrated trade this morning for Mark Williams out of Duke, the center. They gave up Dalton Knecht, their first-round pick, really good shooter out of Tennessee. But Davis fits them now. And so they have like a rugged defensive-minded center who, was averaging 16 and 10 in Charlotte. Won't average that in L.A. with the Lakers. But he's a better fit. He's a better piece that fits with them. So now you have LeBron and you have Luka and you have Reeves and you have the kid from Charlotte that I just mentioned. So anyway, Mark Williams. So, that team all of a sudden in a starting 5 sense is not bad. That's not a bad. And Finney Smith is on that team. I think they're done trading, but that was an underrated trade yesterday. And a lot of people like Dalton Knecht. So it's not like they gave away nothing for Dalton Knecht. So that was a nice move. So what do you think of the Western Conference as I just broke it down for you? Do you like where the Warriors sit? And I haven't even asked really, do you like the trade? Do you like the trade for Jimmy? You gave up Wiggs. Do you like the trade? Luka Magic. Like that, man. Hi, Luka Magic. I heard Mark Williams' report. He's had some injuries. Yeah, he's had some injuries. But if I'm the Lakers, I'm going to make that move. Dalton Knecht's a nice player, and he's going to score some points in Charlotte. Bad team, needs a scorer. LaMelo kicks it to him. He'll score some points. But it comes down to, as I said earlier on in the show, it's about fit. It's not fantasy basketball. And Williams could be a good fit for the Lakers. I know as a Warriors fan, you hate to see that. But, yeah, I feel you. But you know what he does? He rebounds. He's tough. And as I said earlier, you have to have guys who know their role. And he's not going to spread the floor. And, yeah, in today's NBA, you want 5 guys who can shoot it in principle. But the reality is there is still value for a guy who can score a little bit, be around the rim, be a lob guy, play good defense, be rugged, grab boards. Not everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants all the glamour stuff. Nobody wants to do dirty work. And that's a dirty work guy that they just picked up who can score a little bit too. So that's not bad. That is disrespecting the Thunder. I remember when the Warriors made their first and nobody believed. Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, and that is a good point, Steve. What I'm saying, though, is you have to do it. At some point, as good as your regular season record is, that's dandy. But we all know that the NBA is a totally different story. You get days off, so it helps older teams. I get a day off. I'm not playing back-to-back. It does depend on how healthy you are going into the playoffs, all those kind of things. But there is absolutely a thing about being playoff tested. And I'm not saying that the Warriors, we've been saying playoff tested, and then they go into the playing game and they lose. So this is not going to just happen automatically because the Warriors have pelts on the wall. This is not going to happen. But until Oklahoma City, as great as their regular season record is, does something, then that is good. I think that is fair to say that they haven't, because they haven't. I mean, it's just, I'm not picking on them. It's just they haven't done it. And the playoffs are different. And they are more physical, and you're not having back-to-backs and all these different things. They're just different. And they know that, and the Warriors know that, and they've done it. The Lakers have done it as well, and that makes me a little bit nervous in that regard from a Laker. If you don't like the Lakers, they've got guys who have done it. I just don't know that LeBron and Luka fit together, and I'm not sure if I'm the Lakers, I wouldn't have made a trade, like I said, with the Warriors to get players around Luka, not for this year, but if Kuminga is on that team, and Moody's on that team, and Wiggins is on that team, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of guys that are in their 20s playing with a 25-year-old superstar, and they're going to grow like this. I don't think LeBron's going to be there next year, and I don't know what you can get for LeBron. You can get a ton for LeBron, but I might have done it now, but it might be the same situation that they're thinking, like, you don't trade Curry at the deadline, and they're not going to now. But I'm saying before they made the Butler trade, I was talking about this yesterday, and I talked about it in the emergency show that we did last night when Jimmy Butler got traded, and you can see that on the YouTube channel, John Lund Unleashed. You absolutely know that Curry's going to say, look, I'm not going to sit here, and I'm not going to stay here, and I'm not going to do this. We'll see what happens with LeBron. But in the offseason, they can get stuff for LeBron, and they can get younger players and players that fit around Luka. But right now, you have 2 ball-dominant players in the Lakers. Neither's a great shooter off the ball. Luka's indifferent to defense. LeBron can still play it at 40, but it's got to be selective, and they put him on the worst player offensively a lot of times during a game to save him and his energy. So it's not exactly a great fit. They did a nice job in getting the center. I think that's a much better fit, and I think long-term they're going to continue. And again, he's a younger guy, so I think they're going to do more of that in the offseason. They're going to see how it fits with LeBron. The other thing about the Lakers in terms of trading him, he's not Kobe Bryant. He's not Magic Johnson. He's not a Lakers lifer. Trading Steph Curry's like, we got to do this in the offseason. We got to have a plan. We got to have marketing. We got ticket sales involved. How do we do this? How do we make it so fans don't revolt? Now, they don't want to have to deal with that now, but the Lakers, they can trade LeBron. I have lots of friends who are Lakers fans down in LA and media that covers them. He's not revered like Kobe. He's not revered like Magic or any of those guys who were lifer Lakers. James Worthy, all those guys, they don't look at him like that. They look at him as a hired gun that won a bubble championship. Congratulations. You think that we don't acknowledge it? I mean, they do to an extent, but they don't look at it like what some of the classic Lakers did. He's not in that realm. So if they trade him, it's like, we already have Luka. Like if the Warriors had gotten a Luka, you don't want to trade Steph Curry. I'm not saying that would have been great, but you could deal with it going, well, we got a 25-year-old. Our version of Curry now is this 25-year-old guy. Had they made that deal, they didn't. And they didn't have an Anthony Davis. All hypothetical, but the Lakers can trade LeBron now because it's like, we already got Luka. They got all the courtside people, and they got all these people making money, and you got to have star power in LA. And it's like, well, we already got another one. So the old one can be traded for players who fit around the young one now. It's cool. We're good. You can't trade him before that, but you can trade him after. Our first NBA Cup reference of the day. Oh, my God. Who even won that thing this year? I know the Lakers did last year. Who won the Cup this year? I can't even remember. Who did? No clue. No clue. Nobody hangs those things, right? The Dubs made Zubats and Walker Kessler, yes, of the Jazz last night. My God. Painful. My fault. Next up, Mark Williams. That's a pretty good point. Yeah, can you sing that? Don't try to bait me into singing because I will not sing. Because every time I sing, people get pissed. I don't want to do your dirty work no more. See, every time, you're going to sucker me into that stuff. And now you're like, oh man, why are they doing that? Why is he singing? I don't want him to sing. What, are you kidding me? If I had video of me throwing my phone, I would for subscribers only. By the way, like I said, I got to do that today. I have it on my list. I got to get your hats today. Gotta get your hats. Yeah, I don't know. I am going to ask if George did meet anybody on the streets last night. They were supposed to go to Bourbon Street. He never texts me back unless it's about money. So let's see. He said, got it. So 10:15, he's going to join us. About 25 minutes. I'll play the promo a little bit later of him. And but anyway, it's going to be pro tip. I agree. Pro tip, George Visine. Yeah, he was hanging a little bit yesterday, wasn't he? When we checked in with him. He was hanging. Yeah, he's going to be inside. If he goes sunglasses inside, we're going to have a talk, him and I. I don't know if we can do that. All right, let's get back to a little bit of Jimmy all the time talk. This was kind of funny. You probably saw this. If you were on the show last night, you probably saw this. And this blares a little loud. I should turn this down. But this was Jimmy's reaction online to being traded to the Warriors.
I ain't a whole lot of people gonna wind up there. Anything goes at the end of the road. Ain't nobody about to slow me down. No, 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 no. Ooh, welcome to the Wild Wild West. Yeah,
there you go. Jimmy Butler with a little Wild Wild West as he gets traded to the Warriors. So that was his first reaction. So before the discussion about Jimmy Butler, we had to talk about Andrew Wiggins. And maybe we haven't talked about Wiggins enough on this show today. We probably have not, to be honest with you. But we are quick as fans to move on. We have a 24-hour news cycle. We have 100. Do we still have 140 characters on Twitter/X? I don't know. But we're a microwave society that wants everything now. And if something happens, we're moving on, and we're moving on fast. But here's Steve Kerr last night and acknowledging the contributions of one Andrew Wiggins, saying that they wouldn't have won the 2022 title over the Celtics without Wiggs.
Everything he brings every single day, the laughter, the smile, the joy, just a wonderful human being. And so I'm going to miss him, and the other guys too. I mean, Kyle.
I thought he had it longer, but there you go. Oh, yeah, he got into the other guys too. And I was like, what? And he started with Kyle Anderson. It's like, what? Kyle Anderson contributed how many games? I was like, come on, stop. Andrew Wiggins, weird career here. But again, I'll go back to what we talked about at the beginning with Andrew Wiggins. First overall pick before he even played a game in Cleveland. Remember, he was picked to LeBron's Cleveland Cavaliers, but then before he even played a game, he was traded to Minnesota in a Kevin Love deal. Goes to Minnesota, said to be the savior of the franchise, but some guys aren't. I think that's what people don't realize, as I say, about chemistry and fantasy teams and all this kind of stuff, is that not everybody is cut out to be a number one leader. That's why when Luka Doncic gets traded to the Lakers, I just go, God, you just gave up a number one, a true number one, franchise builder, franchise pillar. There's just a handful of those number ones. I wrote about that at Lund Unleashed.com. You can check it out. But it was just like, that's why I thought the trade with the Lakers and Dallas was so bad from a Dallas perspective. Is short term, Anthony Davis is going to be fine, but you just traded a 25-year-old franchise pillar that are so hard to find, and he's not even in the prime of his career, and he's going to get it in better shape, and he's going to trade in kale salads. You know, he was eating a barbecue in Texas. He's going to be in better shape. He's going to have a little vitamin D, so he's not so pale looking and all those things, and maybe that doesn't matter at all, but he's going to get better and better. So he's a franchise number one. Andrew Wiggins was drafted like that, but he was never going to be that. He's content to be third or fourth. He's content to be in the back, where Jimmy Butler's going to be like, my team. Andrew Wiggins is like, cool, man. No worries. And for some teams, that's great. For others, it's not. Like, he's going to go to Miami. And even though that's not a hardcore market, and Miami's into everything Miami's into, and South Beach, and, they're into football and college and pro. And so, the Heat kind of go to the back of the room anyway. But Bam Adebayo is going to be the leader of that team now, and Tyler Hero is going to be the leader of that team. And there's Andrew Wiggins sitting there about, third or fourth? So that'll fit him just fine. People will complain. He'll go through the same exact thing. I'm sure this will frustrate him. Hey, you were the first overall pick. How come you're not better? How come you're not more consistent? How come you're – well, you know what? If he's around your team long enough, and especially given the things that happened off the court, and you look at the kind of season he's had this year, all of a sudden you're going, you know what? He's pretty good. Like, okay, is he going to be number one overall pick, franchise pillar good? No. But if Andrew Wiggins is the third or fourth guy in your team, you're okay. You know, he's a good enough shooter. He'll slash to the basket. He's a good defender. He's a two-way player when he's on, and this year he has been. So as long as you don't expect him to be the number one franchise pillar that number one overall picks are supposed to be, but very few are, then you're going to be fine with Andrew Wiggins. And that's how I saw it. And in 2022, I think the frustration for Warriors fans, and you tell me because you're a fan, is that we saw what he could do. This is what pisses me off about players. And a lot of people look at this the other way. Once I see what you can do, I'm like, why can't you do that all the time? And people see something from a player and then they'll throw it in my face. Like, you know, I'll say this guy's not very good or that guy's not very good, or I think this guy should be better. And then a guy will score, 30, grab 10 and dish 12. And then someone will, hit me up on social media and go, see what he did? And my response to that always is, yeah, I saw what he did. I want to see him do it all the time. Like, that doesn't make me feel great about a certain player who can't do it all the time. That's the difference. All these guys, I say this all the time, show philosophy. All these guys are really talented to get to the league, any league, professionally. Like when people say, oh, he was a fringe baseball player or fringe this or fringe that. Look, if you got there, you're awesome. You're incredible. And we all play sports growing up. I mean, if you're the 1% of the 1%, I mean, it's amazing that you could get there. So they're absolutely great. And what's funny about it is, like, you'll see a guy in a pickup game that maybe in the NBA, is like a 4-point scorer. He'll score 40. Like, they could do it they can do it. And on the court, they could do it occasionally, because if they didn't, or if they couldn't, they wouldn't even be there. So they're that talented. You just don't see it a lot of times because a guy plays within the context of a team. But they can break out and do it. Like, we'll have Tolbert on. Tolbert had a 16-point quarter one time in Orlando, and then I think finished with 18 when he played with Shaq. I think Matt Guokas was the head coach, and Tom's like, I'm red hot, man. Feed me the ball. And they're like, slow down, bro. Like, we're not feeding you anything. You might have had a 16-point first quarter. We're not feeding you anything. But, I mean, Tolbert could go 25 and 10. There's no, not every night. But that's what I mean is these guys are super talented. So the biggest knock on Andrew Wiggins, to pull this all the way back to him, is that he didn't do it every night, and that frustrated us. So we would see him in 2022 and be like, oh, two-way Wiggs, two-way Wiggs, two-way Wiggs. We got this. And in 2023, it's like, and we're like, where's that dude? What happened to that dude? And then we'd see it every once in a while. And that's the worst. I say this all the time. Like, I like my teams, whether you're good or bad, I just want you to be consistent so I know what I'm getting. I call it in the bank. That's the term. I use it all the time. Like, I just want to put it in the bank. So what do? I'm 20 and 10. It's in the bank. I know what Steph's going to give me. I know what Draymond's going to give me. Back in the day, I knew what Clay was going to give me. I hated those guys. It was like one night it was 3 for 17 and 8 points and 3 rebounds. And then the next night, you're 11 for 15 and you're scoring 35 and you got 6 or 8 threes. And man, you're awesome. And everybody goes, oh, that's what he can be. And then the next night you're not that. And I think that's what drove people crazy about Wiggs. And a lot of it was off the court. And he's a cerebral kind of a guy. And, he keeps a lot in, and everybody's different. I mean, he couldn't be more different personality-wise than Jimmy Butler. Could you imagine Andrew Wiggins holding out, being a jackass and being a jerk and skipping games and not giving effort? And, you can say a lot of things about Andrew Wiggins. You can't say that he didn't try. He just wasn't always successful and wasn't consistent. And then everybody throws, and this happens in all the sports, then everybody throws that somebody was the first overall pick. Well, that guy was the first overall pick, and it never leaves you. So you're like, okay, I got to get off this team because I'm not living up to the number one overall pick. I'm a nice role player. I'm a nice player. And if I was picked 22nd, nobody would care, but I was picked first. And so everybody's putting that around my neck like an albatross. Like, you were picked first. It's like weighing me down. I was picked first. God, And so everybody in the NFL, you were a first-round pick because there's so many more. Man, that guy, he's a bust. He was a first-round pick. And you put it around their neck, and then they go to another team and they can relax. Kind of like what's happening with Jake Moody as a third-round pick. We picked you in the third round, and it's like this is getting to him at some point versus being like a free agent kicker where it's like, whatever. But you're exactly right. That's my whole point here is consistency is hard. So what happens is people think that because somebody does it once, they can do it all the time. You can do it once or else you wouldn't be here. But consistency is the thing. And so with Andrew Wiggins, it drove people crazy that we couldn't see two-way Wiggs, 22 Wiggs, championship Wiggs all the time. I'm cool with it. Like, the way that I'm going to look back at Wiggins is after the Durant moves and you get D'Angelo Russell, and then off that you get Wiggins, and off that you get Kuminga. And while we're still waiting a little bit on Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins and Steve Kerr's right there. They don't win in 2022 without Wiggs. That's just how it is. And we didn't have the expectations here of the number 1 overall pick. We just want you to be solid. And on certain nights when you would disappear, miss shots, and just was like, okay, we got to take Wiggs off the court because he's not getting it done. The frustration was, as I talked about, just tell me what I can put into the bank. And with Wiggins, you couldn't always do that. I knew with Curry, I knew with Draymond, you knew with Clay, you knew with all these guys. But then with Wiggins, it was like, which Wiggs are we getting? And that drove fans crazy. Because look, if you suck, I can deal with that, man. Because I'm not going to rely on you. Like if I know that you're a 10 or a 12 minute a night guy, and what you're going to give us is X, I'm cool with it because I know, because I don't expect you to get 20. But with Wiggs, it's like I've seen it. He'd have this night and he'd score like 28, and he'd shut a guy down defensively, and he'd have energy, and he'd dunk, and it's like, that's Wiggs, man. We get that guy, we're tough. And then the next night he's 3 for 17 and sleepwalking, and you're like, drive me crazy. Yeah, pick first, and LeBron traded him. That's how you entered the league. Like, yeah, we don't want that guy. Give us Kevin Love. Don't care. Maple Jordan this. Hey, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Kittle and the Niners on extension talks. I did talk about that. I told you, man. They're for a guy who they weren't sure about. Remember, the tight end position is not the highest paid, clearly. And given George Kittle, I don't know, 17, 18 million, even up to $20 million, that's a hell of a deal for the 49ers. They're going to keep him. Now, would it be nice if they drafted another tight end that finally worked? Remember they got Reed a couple years ago from Washington, and they drafted Latu. Oh my God. And Braden Willis and guys, like, they're trying to get help for Kittle, but it's like they just can't figure it out. This is a great tight end draft, not to go draft on you. And I'm not talking Tyler Warren from Penn State. I wouldn't draft him at 11, as good as he is. But Colston, the kid out of Michigan, I mean, we go on down the line. There's probably 10 tight ends that I think could be a number 2 tight end on the Niners this year in this draft and be really good. So that's why you don't have to draft Tyler Warren, by the way. You don't have to pick at 11. You don't have to do that. All right, let's get to Steph Curry. This is a good response from Curry. I hope that Curry peps up in his like old Curry, not older, not like as an age, but like when Steph was more in a good mood, because this trade deadline thing, I think, has really sapped him a little bit, because there's a lot of not pressure on him, but just pressure in general. And I do really believe that if they don't get a deal done for Butler or somebody of that ilk, I'm not talking, and maybe Zion, I don't know if that would be good enough, but not Brandon Ingram, who, by the way, went to Toronto. That was a weird trade. But it's somebody really moving the needle. I think that Steph would have asked for a trade in the offseason. I don't think he will now, but I think he would have. And I think all of this has weighed on him. So he's talking about Jimmy Butler here, but he's still not that peppy Steph, which I think will return.
Their organization to kind of, talk about, but I can put myself in his shoes in the sense of he's been away from the game for a minute. He's been frustrated for whatever reason. And when you get into a situation that's a fresh start, again, it establishes expectations that we're all used to, that we need to win. And I think we all thrive off of that energy. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean there's going to be challenges. Obviously, him signing an extension is big, knowing he's committed for this next little run, and we got to figure it out.
All right, there he is. So again, he normally he's got a little more energy. I know that the losing has really weighed on him, and that was last night after losing to the Jazz, a game they should have won. So he's not going to be jovial and in a great mood, despite the fact that they just picked up Jimmy Butler. And I think that he is. I'm reading into Steph Curry and know nothing of this, but I know enough, having done this for a long time and reading players and been on beats for teams and talked to players and so on and so forth. He's like the rest of us. He's excited for it, but this is by no means a slam dunk. Like, in other words, he would have known what Kevin Durant was going to bring to the table if they had been able to acquire him, because he knows what Kevin Durant is. And so there wouldn't have been any speculation. I think he would have been bouncing off the walls even after a loss last night. But he does know also, because again, it's in the Anthony Slater piece today in The Athletic, and we've popped a couple of things up from it, is that this was their second choice. It was the second choice for Butler. He wanted Phoenix as the second choice for the Warriors, maybe third choice. They definitely wanted Durant, if not LeBron. But this is where they are, and they're together, and we'll see. And I know that Steph Curry knows, and he's probably talked through the league. And I don't know how much, and someone will ask him this, I don't know how well Curry knows Butler. Butler's been over in the East. They all-star games. Everybody knows everybody. But, I mean, it's not like they're doing soup commercials together, I don't think. So we'll see. And he's a little skeptical. All right, we do have it. I'm going to play this before I bring George on, and he's walking and talking, I see, in New Orleans. So another update. This is day 3 that we've updated him. Day 4 for George. Crazier and crazier by the day. But if you missed it, here's a little. This is from yesterday, a promo that we ran. George talking about women with no teeth on Bourbon Street, and then we're going to bring George on the show.
Teeth over there? He's like, yeah, if you want the ones with teeth, go to Bourbon Street. That's where you'll find the good ones.
Give us one more twirl around, flip the phone, and see. Give people this kind of sense of where you're at. You're at the Media Row Super Bowl in New Orleans.
That's the only place that you really can't get anywhere close to. Versus I can just walk up to Deebo Samuel if I want and cause issues. So, which I probably shouldn't do, but I can if I would like to.
All right, there he is. He is George. He is my son, and he is at Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and he's causing more issues. Did he go to Bourbon Street? We asked him to go to Patty O'Brien's. He says it's busier on this Thursday. Let's bring him aboard and get the latest. Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, Media Row. George Lund with ASU Radio, Blaze Radio. Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess, to you. It's just past noon in New Orleans, and you're on Media Row, for those who don't know.
Good morning.
What's happening?
The guy that I flipped you around to was Joe Montana. So
what? Go back.
I missed it. I was walking behind him. Well, no, now he's gone. They moved him quick. I think he's leaving the whole thing. I think he might have just been here for the morning. But no, I was following him because when I went on camera, I was trying to give you guys a good guy to be around. But yeah, no, he was going fast. But yeah, that was Joe Montana walking in front of us. We've had this day is pretty unreal. It makes the first few days kind of feel
Thursday, Friday, but
because it's gotten the Monday and Tuesday were kind of like the smaller guys. You're like, oh, this is really cool. See them in person, and now it's like I see anybody that's not like a Hall of Famer, and I'm like, oh, that's who, whatever. So
all right, so give us a little flip around real quick. Where are you at? What's around? Give us a little feel of how many people are out. Just give us a little flip on the phone to see where you're at here and how many people are around you. Oh, no,
that's Micah Parsons right there.
So do another flip to Micah Parsons. What's he doing? Oh yeah, right behind you. I got you.
Just a little corner interview. So I'll try to go to the middle here.
Yeah.
The middle is definitely where it's more jam packed.
Get into the fray.
This is the craziest day by a country mile. I mean, this is pretty insane. I mean, and literally anybody that's anybody, NFL wise particularly, is here right now. I think I've seen every single player that's ever made a Pro Bowl ever. So here.
Are you doing your normal thing where you do the selfies and all that stuff, or are you being more professional?
No. I'm past the point where now I'm at the
2
point
years ago, man. 2 years ago, you're doing selfies and that was cool.
Now I'm at the point where
you're too mature for that.
Yeah, now I'm at the point where I'm trying to ask guys to do interviews and stuff like that, and then I'm getting denied very often. We've tried with a few guys, but a lot of guys have handlers, or they have five
that's crazy.
Very giant men that are walking around. That's Nick Wright.
Yeah.
Right you got money here. We're handing it out.
I can hear his voice, and it's pissing me off.
He's right there. I saw Kittle was walking around doing a bunch of stuff earlier.
Hey, here. Let me ask you something. So I need you to find this out. Breaking news. You need go ask his handler or somebody. Go try to find Kittle again, because there's word that they're talking extension with Kittle. So I need boots on the ground.
That's Crosby right there.
Well, do that again. Let's see Max Crosby. What's he looking like today? You got to yell at Max. You're a Raiders fan. There he is.
I just saw somebody do a walk and talk interview with him. That was very lucky.
Try to do that. If you can get somebody on a walk and talk, I might pay your rent this month.
I don't know. You want to see David Njoku without a shirt on?
Yeah, sure. We're up for anything here, man. Media Row, George Lund in New Orleans, by the way. What is he promoting? Keep it right there for a minute. What's David Njoku promoting? Browns tight end. Dude, I'll tell you this. If I had a body like that, I'd never put a shirt on. I would walk around like that all the time. Like, there's no way. I wouldn't. I would never. Why wouldn't you? Why would you? I wouldn't even own a shirt.
Yeah. It's his thing at this. I mean, I'm literally swerving through traffic. It's quite.
We can tell. It's all right. You're doing great.
It's quite a busy day.
Yeah, it's Thursdays are crazy. Thursdays have become actually crazier than Fridays on Media Row.
I wholeheartedly
Because a lot of
agree.
people leave on Friday. They're just like, I've had it. Because Fridays are, I'm not saying that Fridays aren't crazy. They are. But Thursdays really have become even crazier than Fridays. Where was Kittle at? What do you got? Who do you got? Well, who is that? Oh, Travis Hunter.
His show.
Wow.
He's over there.
Boy, he's got a big setup. He hasn't even drafted yet. That tells you about NIL. He's got a ton of money. He's got a whole setup there.
He has his own show. He has his own show that's going, and
He
that's
hasn't been drafted yet, man. That's life is crazy. Life is absolutely crazy.
You want to see Stephen A?
Yeah, sure. Where's he at? Oh, there you go. Yeah, very good. I heard you saw him at dinner.
We did. So we were at dinner. One of my friends who I'm with, his uncle actually who lives out in New Orleans, was taking us to a dinner spot. And, it's kind of this like very hidden dinner spot. We weren't too sure what it was going to be like. And as we're waiting for a table, this giant 6'5" dude comes barreling down the stairs, and right behind him is Stephen A. Just walks right past us.
Yeah, he's got.
And we're like, we might. We might be at the right dinner spot. That's kind of what we were thinking when he walked past us. But
okay, walk. I got to ask some questions about last night, but wherever Kittle was, walk towards that. Not you don't. Is he gone?
They move so fast, so quickly.
Well, keep your eye out.
Okay,
just keep your eye out, because if you could break some news, if you could just yell over at Kittle, "Are you getting a new deal?" And then even if he doesn't, whatever. At least because we could break some news here. We could break some news here. Yeah. So try to find him. If you can't, you can't. But as you're walking and talking here, what'd you do last night? Did you go to Bourbon Street?
So we've been tired, and we went out to. Listen. We went out with my friend's uncle, and he took us to dinner, and then he took us to another bar, and then we drove around the. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
What do you got?
Somebody just gave me a cheese stick. I don't know why.
They're trying to promote everything. It's the Super Bowl.
We drove past the Tulane campus, so that was really cool.
Okay.
Here's Jeff Saturday. Right?
Oh, Jeff Saturday's a cool dude. Yeah, there you go, Jeff Saturday. Yep. Coach the Colts for a minute.
We drove through the Tulane. He beat the Raiders in their
yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right.
You don't like he drove us to two different bars. Went to a restaurant where Stephen A. was at, and then he drove us around the Tulane campus, and we kind of explored New Orleans. It was a portion that I'd never seen before. I'd never been in the Tulane campus, obviously, but he pretty much just helped us explore around and kind of show us the area. So I appreciated that. So then we're gonna make it a priority to go do that tonight.
Got to do it.
The next day,
you have to do
it. We went to two really cool bars. Well, we haven't had time. It's not even.
I know, but you just when the first thing people are gonna. There are just certain things like in San Francisco, you got to go like Pier 39, and it's like just one of those things where it's just you. But Patty O'Brien's is amazing, so you just have to go there because it's gonna get bananas, and you don't want to go there. Like when do you leave in town? Saturday or Friday?
Friday night.
Friday night. Okay, so you got to do it tonight. It's your only chance. So you got to go to Patty O'Brien's, because if you don't go there, you're gonna be like, oh, I should have went, because all these people are gonna go Patty O'Brien's. You got to have a hurricane at Patty O'Brien's. It's just one of those things. And it's not like I'm asking you to go to the library. I mean, it's a great part of Bourbon Street. So you got to go. You got to.
I agree.
Go. Okay.
I've just been, a bit busy meeting and talking to NFL players. So
stop it.
Yeah. Well, hey, we were at the same restaurant as Stephen A. You can't tell us that.
I know, but Patty O'Brien's. After you go to Patty O'Brien's, you go, oh, I get it.
I agree.
All right, so what else you got? What else is around you?
Honestly, I don't know where Kittle is. I've looked around, but everybody moves so fast. Like everybody's shifting and moving to different stations. There's a lot of people who are already done for the day. Like I think when I opened and you saw Montana, I think he was probably done for the day.
Oh yeah. Plus, somebody said that Joe Montana was like $10,000. He won't go to New Orleans for less than six figures, and probably like maybe more like $500,000. Like yesterday, you showed us Rob Gronkowski yesterday for Bounty. Gronk probably getting $100,000 an hour. I'm not even kidding. Like people think that I'm crazy. No, that's what they do. They fly him in, they fly him out. They do Radio Row for a day or two, and they pay him a boatload to go there. They own him for those couple of days, but it is crazy. Like Joe's probably there for like Guinness or something, and they're paying him just a boatload. I mean, believe me, Joe's not going anywhere for $10,000. I mean, it's crazy. And look, okay, so give us a flip around now. Let's crazy. What set is that? Oh, there's McAfee's show. It's McAfee's show, right? Who's on right there? Is anybody on?
Honestly, I have no clue. I do not recognize him. But then again, I need you here to help me recognize people for me.
That's all right. No, it's good. You're giving us a
That
great
was
view
Bryce
of this
Young.
whole thing.
That was Bryce Young that just walked past me. He's a
You're
lot.
bigger
He's a
than
lot
him.
smaller. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but he's definitely not a big guy. He looked like every other guy walking around because the NFL players make me
Bryce
look
is
so
not
small.
big.
I
not
walked
a
past
big
Andrew
dude.
Whitworth at one point, and that is
Oh.
maybe the largest human being that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, absolutely. He's big.
Here's
Former Rams lineman.
Drew Brees is on that set. Cam Newton show. Cam Newton arrived, and we saw him arrive.
What's he dressed like?
That's his show. He's not on yet. I don't know where he went. He
gotcha.
did pull up. He did pull up here, but I'm assuming that he's going to do more interviews and then he's going to come back and do his own show.
Mhm.
But yeah, everybody that's normal height. So being that Bryce Young is a very short man, they look small and they look normal versus the very large NFL players. They make me look small and they look like they stand out. So there's a lot of guys that I've walked past and I'm at a double take and I'm like, oh, that is an NFL player. That's not just your normal run-of-the-mill guy walking around.
Yeah. No, today is the day. Today's so busy because what happens is a lot of people come into town today, Thursday, for the weekend because they're going to party in New Orleans. Very cool. And then a lot of people just leave on Saturday. It's like a 48-hour thing, and they have a good time and they have fun, and then they're out of there. And then the people who stay to do the game is, like we stayed till Monday in Super Bowl 47 there, and it's like, oh my God, it was way too long, like 11, 12 days. Whew. Is that Whitworth right there? Yeah, there he is right there, getting interviewed right behind him.
He's probably 6'8", maybe. I don't know, 6'7",
Yeah, he's a big guy.
like
He's
that.
a super nice guy.
Yeah, but he's slimmed down a little bit, so he's at NFL size, but he still is a very, very large human being. I see Emmanuel Ocho over here in maybe the worst fit of the weekend. Possibly.
Worst fit? Really?
I would say.
Let me see. Flip it to him. We got to see this. You say it's the worst?
You can in the blue with like the orange shoes or the brown.
Yeah, I guess
you.
I mean, I guess that you're a unique guy in that way. So I just tell people you do.
I don't know about that. I'm dressed professionally today. Let's see.
Minute.
I'm trying to take you to a few more
keep
guys.
going. Don't feel pressure. Just walk around a little bit. And if you see George Kittle, yell at him about an extension.
I still have not seen Kittle, but then again, that's the thing. Some guys do interviews for like a minute. Some guys do interviews.
Yeah, Kittle will be around for a while. Kittle will always. Kittle loves this stuff, so he'll be around for a minute. But you just gotta find him.
I've seen Kittle.
Here's a question from John Holmes. He says, "Tell George that back in the day, a girl with no teeth was a bonus."
Really?
Just so you know. Yeah, that's what he says. Tell George.
I don't know if I don't think I need the bonus personally.
Okay.
But that might be. Maybe Kittle would be into that. I'm not too sure.
No, I don't think Kittle would be into that. He doesn't need it.
Here's
a lovely wife.
Here's Will Irvin. We were talking to him.
Who you got?
Yesterday. Will Irvin.
Oh yeah.
He's
Oh yeah, there you go. You're nice at doing the flip from behind. You got that down. Like you're showing us a lot of stuff. I would be stupid. I'd be flipping the phone back and forth, driving people crazy, and you just do a quick turn and you get it. Nice work.
Yeah.
You got this thing down.
No.
Yeah, you got this thing down.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, I heard that as you're going through this, I heard that you were on with Krug and Damon yesterday. They said you did a great job with him, by the way. How'd it go?
It was a fun.
Were you doing a walk and talk like this?
No, I did a sit down.
Oh, I see.
I thought that might be a little more appropriate.
You're being a professional.
I think that's Kurt Warner that's walking in.
Nicest guy you've ever met. I bet he would talk to you. Oh, he is the nicest guy you've ever met.
Oh,
Ask him a question about ASU. He lives in Arizona. What do you think of the ASU run? Yeah, he lives in Arizona. Say, what do you think of the Arizona State run? Or ask him about the Niners or Brock Purdy. He loves Brock Purdy. Say, what kind of contract should Brock Purdy get?
Well, he was 9. He was surrounded by 9 people, so that might have been
you're more important than all 9
endeavor.
of them. You're more important than all 9 of them. You got to act like you're the man. You got to walk up to those people like you own the place. Believe me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I think the 9 people are also going to spear tackle me into the 4.
Nah.
So that might be.
Kurt Warner's honestly, he's the nicest guy maybe in all of media. He is like the nicest. Oh my God, nicest guy. He is.
I will try my best to find him a little later.
Well, for your show later on, it wouldn't be a bad thing for your show later on because he lives in Arizona. I guarantee he stays up with the Sun Devils, and he loves himself some Brock Purdy. Like he knows Brock pretty well because Brock's from Arizona, and he'll defend Brock at every turn. Very cool.
Really? Okay.
Very cool guy. Very cool guy. Let's see. Let me see some more questions here. A lot of questions here. Let's see. Oh, I told everybody how you and your boys drank twisted tea when I went down there one time, and I was disgusted. How many twisted teas? So what's been the drink of choice? Like if you've gone out in New Orleans, what have you done? Have you had a hurricane yet or no?
No, I have not. We've been busy. I'm telling you, we've been busy. We've been running around. I haven't had time. I'm serious. We haven't had time, and the time that we haven't had, I've been exhausted, so I've needed a little.
You know that New Orleans never closes, like never.
Oh, we definitely
don't give me that.
Well, hey, we need our sleep. We have to wake up at 8 a.m. every day. I gotta wake up.
Oh my God, 8 a.m. Oh, people want to 8 a.m.
Well, no, I know. Okay. I'm just saying that I'm being responsible and I'm getting up.
I think it's great. I think it's great. It's just I went to New Orleans. I've been to New Orleans a lot of times, but for the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 47, I think I probably got 5 hours all week. You got to sleep on the plane.
Well, it makes for a more productive day when I get myself.
You'll learn to burn the candle.
Genty's back there somewhere. I was walking past Genty.
The Boise State running guy.
Yeah, and he's another guy that you'll walk past and you won't even know is like a player because he's smaller. I mean, obviously,
he's not tall, but he's like 5'9".
Yeah, he's 5'9". Yeah, he's a guy.
Nice. He's gonna be. Is he gonna be the Raiders pick at 6?
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
He's nice,
but I don't think he should be. We were trying to get a Raiders guy on earlier to talk about the Raiders because that would be my forte. But I do not think the Raiders should take. They should take Scadaboo. That's who they should take.
What, in like a third round?
Yeah, that'd be a killer pick. That'd be a killer 4th round pick.
Let's see what else. What else is there? Any other highlights?
I've done about 9 laps. I'm trying to see. I'm tired. I'm walking around.
You're tired. You're 21. Will you stop saying you're tired?
I'm tired. Just because I'm 21 doesn't mean I can't be tired.
Yeah, come on. All right. Well, here's what you do. If you see Kittle, Kittle's a super nice guy. You tell him you know me, and say we need to break some news on his show. What's going on with the contract? Just say what's going on with the contract. And he'll say if he's talking to him or not. He's not going to tell you if it's done or how close. He'll just say, hey, we're talking. He'll give you something. Just tell him you know me.
Yeah.
It's not like me and Killer hanging out, but he knows me, and I know him, and he might give you a little stuff, man. Oh, here's a big one. Tell the people about this because we've had Will Gavin on a ton. Baba Booey is saying, did George find Will Gavin? He's going to be on the show, right?
I was just telling you that I saw him a little earlier. He was over there doing his show. I talked to him at the end of yesterday. And I asked him, he said he might have an availability sometime tomorrow.
Oh,
so I know. I told him he should come on tomorrow, but he said to come find him again. Okay. And I would check in and see what his schedule looks like. So I'm gonna try my best to get him on tomorrow. That's the goal.
All right, we'll do just one little bit of football. So what's because we haven't talked a ton of it. Jimmy Butler gets traded to the Warriors. We're talking a ton about Jimmy Butler. You're a big basketball guy. Before I ask you a football question, what do you think of all the craziness that's going on in the NBA with all the trades? What do you think about Jimmy Butler to the Warriors?
We were talking about it a little bit yesterday on the show. I think what I do like about the trade is that the Warriors didn't give up any young assets. I think that's the main thing, that they're still able to go all in while not really sacrificing their future to go do it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably my favorite part about that deal. I will say 2 years, $112 million, whatever it is. It's a pretty outrageous contract for.
They couldn't have got him without it, though.
I know, but got him without it. I'm not a huge fan of the contract, but yeah, I suppose that's what you have to do to get that second star. But I like I like the trade for them. I think it's a good trade in terms of what they gave up. It's a lot of assets, but nothing really of too much value. So I will say I like that. The trade deadline's been pretty crazy to say the least. I mean, this is one of the craziest NBA trade deadlines in my time around here. So, it's made for a good content week in terms of our show. So, it's been pretty insane.
By the way, do you know what Lorenzo Neal looks like? Remember, I sent you a picture of Lorenzo Neal. He's bald now, but you know what he looks like?
Yes, but I'm not going to lie to you. I would not be able to pick him out in the crowd.
I'm going to have to send you I'm going to send you an updated picture of him because He played fullback for the Saints. He's a good friend of mine, and we have a New Orleans story. And I've texted with him back and forth, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm on Radio Row. It's a lot of stuff, but I'll get to you." And so I got to get Lorenzo Neal on the show to tell these New Orleans stories from when him and I were there.
As crazy as it sounds, there are far too many NFL players and far too many that I do not recognize, but I know I should recognize.
We'll get him. I'll send you another picture. And
I'm a baseball guy. At the end of the day, I'm a baseball guy.
Yeah,
if you told me to pick out an Oakland Athletic, I'd be able to pick them out for you.
I know that is a skill that you have right there.
Yes.
Exactly. All right. Give us one more flip around and then try to find George Kittle. Very cool. Yeah, it's great. It's not bad today. It's not bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen Kittle in a while. He honestly might.
Right. See what you can do.
I'll see what I can do. I'll find him for you. See
what you can do. All right, give yourself a plug before you get out of there. What are you doing today? Where can people find you? I know that you're going to be broadcasting on Twitter/X, and you're posting stuff on your social media. So tell people what's up.
At Blaze Radio ASU, our show is on from 2 to 4, and then there's a show before us that's on right now. Plenty of guests throughout the day. We're going to try to get more, maybe surprise guests if I can find a guy, get his handler. Try to get more guys on. That's always the goal. My social media is at GLN Media. I'll be posting all my stuff there. Maybe if I get a walk and talk or something like that, I'll post it there.
Yeah.
But yeah, plenty of stuff to come. I'm pretty much posting all I can, getting all I can. I actually went up there for the Kendrick Lamar press conference. That was pretty cool.
Halftime?
He gets his own conference room, and I went in there and you can hear a pin drop. It was so silent. So that was an entire thing. He probably had the best interview room out of everyone. He's far more exclusive than anybody here. So that was an interesting one to do. Trying to think what else. It's made for a pretty great week. I'll let you know if I get anybody else. Maybe I'll find Kittle. I know Warner was here a little earlier, but he's another guy that's going big booth to big booth. Yep. So he's a tough get. But I will let you know if I find any more connections that you would enjoy.
Break some news. Get that Kittle contract. Let us know. All right, at G Lund Media, make sure you're following them, and at Blaze Radio ASU. I'm running a little crawl down there. Make sure that you watch the guys. And you're on what, in about an hour and a half? Is that right? You're on about an hour and a half?
When I said 2 to 4, I mean Central Time. I believe that California time we're 2 hours ahead, so that would be 12. Yeah,
noon to 2. You're on Blaze Radio ASU and at G Lund Media, posting a bunch of stuff there. As always, great stuff. We'll check in tomorrow for one final time. Thanks for taking us through Media Row in New Orleans at the Super Bowl. Have a great day, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right, that is the great, and I do mean great, George Lund, and giving us the update. And again, George Kittle may be working on a deal with the Warriors. Let me give you a couple of things because he spurred me on a couple of things. First of all, completely disgusted by the fact that he's 21 and tired. Come on, man. Yeah, we all know. We've all been to conventions. We've all been to things. It's a badge of honor, and I guess you do have to learn to do this. It is a learned skill to be in New Orleans, stay up all night long, and turn around and do your show and just do that for a week and keep grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. That's just what you do. And so, again, I just go back to Super Bowl 47. I was out till 3 and 4 in the morning and had a show that started at noon. So I did have a bit of an advantage. So what was it, like 2 o'clock in New Orleans? So, but, and you got to do the prep work. And it's not like I just woke up 5 minutes before. We had a guest list of like 10 or 12 or 14 people. And then in addition to that, what they do is they hand you this thing for, bounty paper towels or this or that or whatever that person is promoting. So you do 10 minutes of an interview with somebody, and then you do, like 90 seconds of something and whatever they're promoting. So it's, it's what it is. But, it's a learned skill to be able to be like, we're just burning on both ends. And when I get home, I'll sleep for, 3 days. But I got to roll, and I got to get to Bourbon Street, and I got to do things because that's part of the conversation. Like when we would do stuff, we would just be like, well, we have to go out because that's part of the conversation. Like I'm not going to, unless it was a Niners week, like last year in Vegas, we still had a ton of fun, but we talked a lot of Niners and Chiefs. But like if we were at Radio Row this year, which is so 2 times the Niners been in the Super Bowl when I've been at a Radio Row, and I've probably been at 15 Radio Rows. And it's like, well, I'm not going to talk about the game. Like I'm not talking Chiefs and Eagles all week long. I'll lose listeners left and right and viewers left and right. So I'm not doing that. Like we wouldn't do that on the radio if I'm just off the top of my head, like Broncos and Seahawks played in New York one year where they were there. It's like, we're talking about everything but that game because the Raiders were still in the Bay at that point. They ate the Broncos. Niners, obviously, they ate the Seahawks. What are we going to do? Break down the Broncos and the Seahawks? We're not doing that. So we would go out and have fun and stuff like that. And then we would just talk about what we did the night before. And then we'd have on a bunch of guests who would take care of the sports side of things. And we would do entire shows at the Super Bowl and wouldn't even talk about the game because it was like, nobody wants to talk about the game. I don't want to talk about the Eagles, the Chiefs. I hope they both lose. Like Chris McCaffrey said, I hope they both lose. This was one thing I forgot to do this for you, but since we are doing a little bit of football here, people had a big problem with this yesterday. This was Debo on Radio Row. In fact, George showed you this. You got dad bod going on. I mean, from one dad bod to another, that might be dad bod. Maybe not. Probably not. Maybe it's just the angle of the camera. But people were upset that Debo Samuel was wearing an 11 Eagles jersey. Like, oh my God. And all these people were speculating. Is Debo going to the Eagles? And it's like, no, man. AJ Brown's his guy. Like, that's his friend. So maybe I'm 100% wrong, and I'll take your thoughts on this. I'll take your thoughts off the air. I'll take your thoughts on the air. I'm fine with Debo wearing an Eagles jersey. I don't like the Eagles. But his buddy A.J. Brown's playing for the Eagles. All he is doing is wearing his friend's jersey. Now, does it look weird? Yeah. Does it mean he's getting traded there? No. It just means he's wearing A.J. Brown's jersey like a lot of us wear jerseys around or hats or whatever. And he happened to be wearing an A.J. Brown jersey, and 49ers Twitter and all sorts of places went bananas. And I'm like, whatever. Like, it doesn't bother me. But some people just were like, oh, my God, how can Debo do that? Oh, what a traitor. And I'm like, you're looking for something. That wasn't anything for me. So, I'm wondering, did we play all the video today? I just wanted to make sure that we hit everything. I'll do that. Like I said, I was going to do this 2 days ago, but then we got into this whole thing. So, tomorrow's Friday, so we'll do a little bit more Super Bowl tomorrow. And I got that whole thing with Kelsey and all the stuff about the referees. So, we'll do that a little bit more tomorrow. Let me just play this one tomorrow after you go to Patty O'Brien's and Bourbon Street tonight is done. Like, you don't have to do anything but that. It's just crazy. And take video and everything else. So you got to go to Patty O'Brien.
So we were getting on the elevator last night to go to the media party, and the most New Orleans dude you could ever imagine in your entire life stops us as we're going, and he goes, oh, are you guys going to Bourbon Street? And we're like, oh, we might hit there tomorrow. And he's like, oh, well, I'll tell you, if you want to find the real good girls, don't go to the side streets. That's where they don't have teeth. And I was like, oh, man, they don't have teeth over there? He's like, yeah, if you want the ones with teeth, go to Bourbon Street. That's where you'll find the good ones.
There you go. Youth is wasted on the young. Youth is wasted on the young. We've got to get our sleep. Oh, I got to get sleep. Get a sleep. What are you talking about? Get your sleep. Crazy. Next year, by the way, Super Bowl in San Francisco. Very, very cool. All right, what did we not hit today? We just showed you the Debo thing. We did a boatload on Jimmy Butler in addition to then yesterday doing an emergency show on Jimmy Butler. That was what we did last night. That's what we did yesterday at this time. Reunion. Man, the news cycle moves fast, doesn't it? And then this is this morning. Look at that. NBA trade madness. Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, Luka, Kuzma. There's Wiggs. You got De'Aaron Fox. And, of course, Sacramento got into this thing, too, with Zach LaVine. So a crazy NBA trade madness. Has anything happened while I was talking to George from the Super Bowl? Has anybody got – in fact, I should probably pull the chat up here because you people are actually telling me what's going on. And lots of times, hell if I know, I'm trying to entertain people. What's going on here? Let's see. Anything from I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any more. Man, they probably just blew out all the trades. Like, you kidding me? Wow, Nurkic to the Hornets. They actually moved Nurkic. All right, Nurkic to the Hornets. That's not moving any needles for me. Let's see. All right. PJ Tucker traded 3 times in 5 days. Talk to Dennis Schroeder about that. I didn't pop up the line from last night. Let me do that before I get out of here. Okay, we're not seeing anything. Let's see. I have not. Yeah, Nurkic. That's the only thing. That's not doing anything for me. And we will try to keep you up to date on with anything that happens with George Kittle. I'm going to have my son just track him down. That's the one thing. Kids got to learn to be resilient and go out all night and then get up and be very, very productive. And then the other thing is, man, if you're you got to be a bulldog reporter, man. You got to be a bulldog. You just go to like, I'm going to hang out and wait for Kittle, and I'm going to yell, Kittle, got an extension? What's going on? And you know how George is. He's like me. It's like ADD. It's like, well, I guess I'll answer that question. Somebody yelled it out at me. It's not like it's not unprofessional. It's like you're just trying to do a job. You're trying to figure things out. So yeah. Oh, dude, you're not lying, Antonio. Stay away from the side streets on Bourbon Street. My ex-wife is from there. Those cats will rob you. I told him that first thing. I said, look, because he's been over to Europe and he's done all those kind of things, backpack through Europe. I go, just think about like being in Europe and you're backpacking through Europe. Like, wallet in the front pocket, all that. Like, be careful. But yeah, he's doing pretty good. Damn Demo hitting the beignets. I thought that was just me. Like, and maybe it was just like a bad side view. You ever taken a picture of yourself and you think you're in pretty good shape and you think you're looking pretty good, and then all of a sudden you see a picture, especially from like a side view like that, you're like, what happened to me? I thought it was looking good. So yeah, that's not the best angle. That's not the best angle that Debo's ever gotten with that one. Yeah, I saw that. Somebody sent me that yesterday, that Paige was at Cafe Du Monde, and I texted George like right away, and I said, you need to go get a beignet right now. And he's like, no, I've got things to do. I was like, no, you don't understand. So he didn't do that. He's not taking any of my advice, which, to be honest with you, if I could be 100% honest with you, is probably a tremendous thing. I mean, really, it's like all these things he tells me, I'm not going to do. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably a pretty good life strategy. Let's double check on everybody. Bill thought it was a Butler who said no. Yeah, we talked about that. Thank you. By the way, thank you. Thank you, Bill M. It was about Butler and the extension. We said hello to John Holmes. Tell George that back in the day, a girl with no teeth was a bonus. I know where you're going with that. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go on a side street with a woman with no teeth. I mean, that's just asking for it. AJ Cruz, it's good to see you here, my friend. At this rate, young George will never have any epic absent stories. Thank you. You've heard the story, I'm sure, but I'll tell it quickly. Me and Papa and the great Chris Townsend were walking Bourbon Street at probably 4:00 in the morning, and it was still rocking and rolling and raging during the Super Bowl 47, Ravens and Niners. And Papa gets this great idea because he sees this absinthe bar. And I'd heard of absinthe. I wasn't my thing. So we go there, and they tell you it has all these weird things that happen with it and hallucinogenic and all that. And so Greg, of course, and we're way overserved by this point, and we're trying to make it back to the hotel, but it's like, there's all these bars and things going on in Bourbon Street, so you're constantly getting just sidetracked. And so we sit down, and this bartender, wizard, makes this absinthe, and they're doing it, and there's smoke coming out of it and steam and all this weird stuff. And I take one sip, and I was like, oh my God. It was seriously like drinking lighter fluid. And they said, absinthe is not a sipping thing. He goes, you just got to take it down. And of course it burns all the way down. And I took that thing, and I'm telling you, we were like, whoa, and we went next level on that. And then before we could even turn around, Greg is gone. Like, Greg is like Rolling Stone, man. He does not sit. Like, he does not, like, we would do shows, right? Video, and he would be at his house or whatever, and I would be in the studio. And if I needed to talk to him, it was like he was gone. Like, I would try to say something doing the break, and there was nothing. So we're sitting there, Chris and I, and I mean, we shoot these things down, and we're sitting there, and it's kind of an outside bar. You could shut it down, but we were on these bar stools to the outside, so we were sitting basically on Bourbon Street. And we turn around, and he is like way down the street. Like, he's gone. Like, he did it, and he's just moving. So we probably sat there for 5 more minutes, kind of milked these things. Might have had another drink, I think, that we didn't need. And before Greg left, I had said to him, like, I'll get these. And he's like, no, I got it. So we thought we were done. We're like, okay, cool. We had those. We go walking off. And George was just talking about security guys. Like, this dude comes flying, big dude, comes flying at me. And I thought he was going to tackle me. And I'm like, whoa, dude. And he's like, you owe a bill. You owe us. And I go back. I'm like, no, the dude walking down the street, sauntering off there way in the distance, he paid it. And they're like, no, nobody paid anything. So he scared the hell out of me. So we had to go back. We had to pay the bill, walk all the way. But yeah, absinthe is like, no, I'm not doing absinthe. No, not absinthe. So he's not missing anything as far as that goes. But yeah, absinthe probably at any time. But 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, when you were clearly already way overserved. And then, like I said, got it right in the morning, was there on Radio Row back then at like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like, boom, 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 go. You got to do that. That's just the way it's got to be. So anyway, to each their own, and maybe he's a more responsible version, which I don't have anything bad to say about that. I mean, I shouldn't be ripping him by like, dude, why are you being so responsible? Everybody wants their kids to be responsible. It is. Absinthe is terrible. It's terrible, especially at 4 a.m. when you just don't need it. You ever had one of those things where like you get home and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have one more drink, and then in the morning you're hungover and you go, why did I do that when I got? That was what it was like. One of those ones where like, I'll make myself a drink at home, and it's like, you don't need to. What are you doing? No. Oh, Nashville's amazing. Way underrated, right, Kyle? Wanted to go to New Orleans when I lived in Nashville, but never made it down there. Nashville is so fun. New Orleans is great in like Super Bowl, which I've covered a couple there. It was great. I covered a national championship game there and stayed on New Year's. I covered a Sugar Bowl there that was really cool. Like in events and things like that, it's really fun. I would, maybe people are going to disagree with me. I'd probably take Nashville just, on a Friday or a Saturday night. New Orleans is too much debauchery. Not during times like this where the Super Bowl, you really feel like you're the center of the universe when you're down at the Super Bowl, wherever you are on radio. You really feel like, and again, most people don't even care about sports. Certainly they don't internationally, but you feel like you're just the center of the universe when you're there because everybody who's anybody in your world is there. And it's pretty cool. So after he does a few of these, he'll start to feel better and he'll approach guys and stuff. Because my whole thing was like, I'm approaching everybody. I'll never get a chance to talk to these guys again. What am I waiting for? Nobody's going to kick me out. They understand what we're doing here. Everybody's, especially nowadays, today and nowadays, everybody's like, man, I got to get mine. I'm a brand. I got to figure it out. And I got to get it. I got to go. I got to get these guys. I got to yell at these guys. I mean, that's what's happening is he's walking around and all these kind of things. So, I didn't know that. Found by Glenn Beck, so I'm a bit triggered seeing Blaze Radio. I did not know that. But, yeah, it's a great school. Great school. I mean, I go down there, I'm blown away by what they do. But anyway. All right, I think we have covered everything today. What I'll do tomorrow is we'll do a lot more NFL stuff and Super Bowl stuff because I've got a bunch of it. But I knew that we would be talking a ton about Jimmy Butler and the reaction and Steve Kerr and sorry about that and all those kind of things. So I didn't have a ton prepared in the NFL and the Super Bowl, but tomorrow's Friday. We got to do that. Tropical Island. Oh, hand grenades? No chance. Did you do that on the street? That's the one thing is the one thing I learned through the years in New Orleans is I'm not doing drinks on the street. And that's generally, don't let me be a guy that's philosophical to you and tell you what to do. But what I would say is that drinks on the streets in anywhere, Mexico, Nashville, New Orleans, Las Vegas, anywhere you want to go, drinks on the streets are not the greatest. And you're going to get a big hangover and you're not going to feel great. Now, again, he's going to go to Patty O'Brien's, not being a huge drinker and have one hurricane, and he is going to feel like a hurricane. But just one is he'll be fine. It's just you can't get, you absolutely positively cannot do any more than that for him. Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate it, man. He is doing a great job. This is his first job. I mean, you guys tune into Blaze Radio with him because him and his buddies are like, I'm looking at him going, guys, man, college, you're doing a nice job. You're doing a really nice job. In fact, let me pop that up one more time on the banners so I can be really fancy one more time. G Lund Media on Twitter /X at Blaze Radio ASU. And he's going to be on in about an hour and 20 minutes. So take yourself a nice little break, and then he's going to be on there. G Lund Media, follow him at Blaze Radio ASU. They're going to be broadcasting from the Super Bowl, and those guys do a good job, man. They're rolling it, and they know their stuff. He's with a couple other guys that he does the show with, but really, this is his first time doing an extended radio show. He's a writer, like I told you. He's writing for ASU baseball, ASU basketball. He's going to the Cape this offseason or this summer. He did an internship for the Giants last year. He's a really good writer, but he's kind of getting the bug as far as the media goes, so it's pretty cool. All right, what else do we got? Tropical Isle is a bar, but you were saying a hand grenade. You were saying a hand grenade, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, hey, very nice. I will send you a hat, Bryce Surf. How do you contribute to the? I think you can just do it on YouTube, right? Just do it on YouTube, and it's there. And then, and I'll send you one of these hats because I have a bunch of stuff in it. And right after the show, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit the button for the podcast, as I always tell you, Apple, Spotify, Rig Rich Podcast. And then what I'll do is I will get everybody who has joined the Lund Loyalist Club, and I'll get a hat out to you. And then I will also have, and I said this the last couple of days, we'll get the store up as well because we got the store going. As I told you, 2 sweatshirts with the logo, 1 black, 1 white, hoodies, 1 bucket hat with the logo, 1 trucker hat with the logo, and a women's sweatshirt that is white that is really cool too. And so if you join the loyalty club, I'll make sure that you get a hat out of the gate, and then we'll go from there. Thanks. Yeah, I think George is doing a good job. Yeah, I would be a little, again, I would probably burn it on both ends and be a little bit more aggressive, but this is his first time. I mean, he's doing killer. He's doing an awesome job. So doing a really nice job. Yeah, this is going to be funny, right? When he goes to the Cape and then he comes back next fall and he's talking like a He's a child ahead. Hey, Noma! And he's doing that kind of stuff. That'll be kind of funny. All right. A good time had by all. Appreciate everybody hanging out today. We almost did 2.5 hours today. Very cool. Had a great time. It rolled, didn't it? Oh, you didn't get it at a street vendor. I got you. You got it at a bar. I got you. Well, then that's good. Even it doesn't mean you can't be hungover. It just means it's good that you didn't do that. See, I pop stuff all the time. It's crazy. All right. Thanks for hanging out today. We appreciate it. Love that everybody was hanging out for a long time today. We had a tremendous time. Do remember, John Lund Unleashed. You follow us on YouTube. You give us the likes, please. That's good for the algorithm. And make sure that your alerts are on, because yesterday, for example, we did an emergency show when the Jimmy Butler news went down. So we did a whole 2-hour emergency show yesterday, and we recapped a lot of it today. So that was very, very cool that we did that. So make sure your alerts are on. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Thank you for watching today at John Lund Radio on X and Instagram. You can catch us there if you would like. As I told you, the podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, John Lund Unleashed. And to tie it all together, and we post stuff on here. We put archives up with the shows from YouTube and on the podcast. And we have a daily blog and a story of the day. So I do a video right after the show. I'll do a video and a write-up on the story of the day. And then tomorrow on the show, as I said, 8 a.m. Pacific time, we'll do a ton, because I have a bunch of stuff from video and all sorts of stuff that I haven't even rolled out today or out this week, because we haven't talked as much about the Super Bowl. So tomorrow is the day. And probably the big poll tomorrow will be, who do you want to win? Because I got to be honest with you, I'm not that I love Kansas City, don't want to root for Kansas City, don't like anything about Kansas City, just because of this whole referee thing and how people are disrespecting them. And if you think about it, it would be like disrespecting the Warriors or something, like trying to minimize their championships, and that's what's been happening. Look, I know you don't like them, and I don't like them either, but I do respect the fact that they've done what they've done, and Andy Reid, Mahomes, and all these guys. You don't have to love them. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to anything with them. But to completely disrespect and dismiss what they've accomplished, I think that's no good. Because I look at it like the Warriors. Remember at the beginning, everybody's disrespecting a pretty jump shooting team, and I'm like, you're not watching. They're playing defense. They're suffocating teams, and yeah, they're revolutionizing the game on the other end. Like, they deserve respect. Most teams don't revolutionize anything. They just copy. Everybody's a copycat league. What is that team doing to win? Let's do that. The Warriors revolutionized, and then everybody got angry with them. Oh, you're shooting the threes, and the Bulls could have beat them, and this team could have beat them, and that team. It's like, well, you know what? Nobody's played like this, so it's pretty cool. And so they got disrespected, and so I know what it's like, and you know what it's like. And so then when other people do that in other sports, it's like, we hate the Chiefs. I get it. But to just dismiss what they've done when they're going for a three-peat, it almost makes me want to root for them, even though I'm not going to root for them. And root is the wrong word. I'm not going to root for anybody. I'm just going to have less hate for one team during the Super Bowl. I think that's all it is, right? Thank you guys, man. We really appreciate it. Where is it? I just saw one. Somebody said thanks for the show. So anyway, thanks. Oh, that's a good call. You want a koozie? I'm a koozie guy, and I don't mean Bob koozie. That's a good call right there. I can do that. I think I can put a koozie on there. All right. I got a lot of stuff I got to do today. Thank you so much for hanging out. We appreciate it. Thank you for everybody for hanging again. John Lund Unleashed, YouTube, JohnLundUnleashed.com website, and on social media as well at John Lund Radio. Have a tremendous Thursday. I already can't wait to talk to you on Friday, because we're going to do a ton of Super Bowl stuff, have a big poll, have a bunch of fun, have a tremendous Thursday, and look out for the email if you're part of the Lund Loyalist group, and I will get your address, and we will send you out a hat, and we'll go from there. Have a tremendous Thursday. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. All I ask is tell all your friends and enemies. Have a great day.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!